Bragbeard, or how you should never talk shit if you can't back it up by hickorystyx. Hello ladies and gentlessers, hickorystyx here to entertain you with a story about a neckbeard I encountered in my high school fencing days. I long-time lurker, first-time poster, so I apologize in advance if there is formatting issues. Hickorystyx, female foil fencer, 14 to 15 at the time of this story. 5 feet 3 inches, 100 pounds, petite as fuck with a major case of baby face. I was often mistaken for a 12-year-old, too polite for my own good sometimes, which often made me neckbait. Mr. Coach, my fencing coach, heart of gold and doesn't take any shit. Often sent the new kids to bout, spar, with me because he knew I would be chill and give them pointers. Please don't be Bragbeard, BB. Honestly can't remember how old this guy was, but I am pretty sure he was around my age, so we'll say 15 to 16. Not your typical neckbeard, as he didn't have a beard, but he was a lanky kid with greasy hair, glasses, always wore cargo pants, some metal band shirt, and Converse to practice. Some background before I jump into the story. I am sure most of you, if you have read Lady Saber's posts, know that fencing along with kendo is the neckbeard sport of choice. I have no idea why neckbeards are drawn to it, as fencing requires a lot of physical movement, probably the fact that it has its roots in knights and dueling and all things chivalry related. When this story happened, I had been fencing for about 3 years and been to several competitions, while BB had been fencing about 3 months. Now I am a pretty laid-back person, and when I practice bout, spar, I work on moves I had worked on in my private lesson with Mr. Coach, so I never go all out trying to win every match. Mr. Coach appreciated this and often sent new students to fence with me because I was nice and would give them pointers. So our tale of neckbeardery happens on a Tuesday evening back in the early 2000s. Now I didn't know what a neckbeard was, but I knew BB was a creeper. I had caught him staring at me when I was putting my chest protector on, basically big plastic titties I had to strap on for safety. Google it if you don't believe me. And he would talk to me non-stop. Once he found out that I like Miyazaki movies, he compared himself to Hal and asked if I wanted to be as Sophie, so I typically went out of my way to avoid him, but that night my coach had asked me to fence him, meaning I couldn't refuse. The bout starts off horrible cringy. BB did one of those overly fancy salutes and finished it off with a full-on bow, and since I wanted to fence someone else as fast as possible, I didn't put any effort into fencing him, and I ended up losing 5 to 3. BB took his victory over Milady with about as much grace as a drunken hippo and starts saying how he could teach me how to make my footwork better, and starts bragging to everyone about how he went easy on me. He even started bragging to Mr. Coach. I was majorly pissed, so I asked BB if he wanted to go another round, this time to 10 points. BB must have wanted to prove to me how good he was and eagerly accepted. To say I beat him would be an understatement. I crushed him into the dirt. The bout took 2 minutes and BB didn't get a single point. BB didn't take the loss well and insisted we fence again. Thankfully Mr. Coach had us switch partners and I was free to fence some of the other more experienced fencers in the club. Every time BB saw me he challenged me to a bout, and I am very satisfied to say that I never let that fucker beat me again. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, and I do have 1 or 2 more stories about BB that I will be sharing soon.
The Weeb got fucking arrested by I_AMA_spaz. Well, I guess I was wrong about it being over last time, but I'm goddamn positive it's over now. I'm a bit drunk/high, so I'm gonna green text this shit. Be Reina. Be reveling in your freedom. Be walking to your car alone. Feel an odd presence. It feels like somebody wants to sell me something. GIF. Okay, fuck that. Anyways, he came up behind her and tried to pin her against her car, but she squirmed like a motherfucker. She dug her nails across his face and kicked him in his shin, then she pepper sprayed him in his stupid facing face. She got in her car, locked it, and called the police. He's sitting in a holding cell at the police station right now. She's decided she will press charges. So here it ends, for real this time. Goodbye y'all.
When did you get my number? My Neckbeard story. By Don Yitsu91. So I have a minor neckbeard story. Probably not the worst, but definitely one of them. Me equals DJ, U/Don Yitsu91, mid-20s guy. Neckbeard equals NB. Mid-30s neckbeard. So I'm a security guard at a couple comic and anime conventions in my area. It's fun work. Make a little extra cash, get a free hotel room, and entry to the convention weekend plus the prep day before the con. Thankfully we seldom have to get physical with anyone. A simple "can you please stop running" or "please stop swinging your prop weapon" is as far as we usually have to go on a good year. The main drawback is my team always gets shafted during the breakdown of the convention on Sunday night and are usually there doing con cleanup till close to midnight. This particular night I'm busy helping tear down signage and help the vendors pack up all of the merchandise they didn't sell. It gets a little more exhausting than I expected, so I take off my top layer shirt, revealing my undershirt, which was a DBZ compression shirt in the shape of Scion armor. I also have a pretty big DBZ tattoo going up the left side of my body. Yeah, it's kind of my thing. This portion of the story takes place in January 2018. A vendor flags me down for assistance and I begin helping her load a bunch of her stuff into her truck. One of the other helpers who doesn't work for me, NB, sees me and practically lights up. He instantly goes into how much he loves my tattoo and shirt and how much he loves DBZ and that he's hosting a huge tournament for the new Dragon Ball FighterZ game that, at the time, had just came out. He asks me what I'm doing tomorrow, to which I tell him I'm leaving after the con since I live more than 2 hours away. Despite this, he says close enough and invites me anyway, telling me where the address is and all of the details. I just assume he wants a lot people to come to his event, like anyone would, and think nothing of it. Now a little bit about NB from what I could gather. He's in his 30s, and liked most of the standard NB tropes, anime, MLP, etc. Overweight but not the worst I've seen. He was indeed stinky the day I met him, but we were all doing physical activity so I assumed it was from the work. Surprisingly no fedora though. Not in any of his pics either. However, what he lacked in fedora he made up for in neckbeard. It was like he had never seen a razor or anything about grooming in his entire 30-something years of life. It went everywhere like he had just stuck his finger in a light socket, and looked very dirty. We finished tear down and as I'm leaving he asks me for my FB info. I give it to him and leave. February. NB wastes no time turning on the creep factor. After he friends me on FB, he then follows me on Instagram immediately. Which isn't that big of a red flag since Instagram recommends your Facebook friends. Then the next day he sends me not 1, but 3 PSN requests. I remember not knowing who this person was so I ignored them, to which he then sent the other 2. Since PSN and FB are linked, I rationalize that maybe he had saw a video I posted, but I'm more of recreational gamer and seldom post vids or screenshots, so you'd have dig a bit on wall to find them. Then the next week he follows me on Twitter. This was now starting to weird me out since I seldom ever tweet, and mostly have one to follow a couple athletes I follow and info on certain events. I also don't link to it on my FB onig, meaning you had to go searching a while to find it. Now I'm a bit creeped out. However, the crown jewel came next. I get an email from my Yahoo account, which was my first email address and what I only use for junk mail nowadays. I still look over them since occasional an Amazon receipt gets sent there, and what do I see in the inbox? A friend request from NB for Xbox Live. Now I'm freaked out. Why? Because I got a PS4 the day they came out. I unhooked my 360 and haven't used it again since. That was in 2013. That's 5 years of inactivity. I don't even use the same username anymore due to how cheesy and immature it was. The amount of personal digging and stalking you have to do to find my fucking Xbox Live account is insane. March. At this point this dude has freaked me out a lot, and he now has begun to love every status I post on FB. Every single one. It started when I liked a gay rights post a friend of mine made shortly after meeting him. I myself am straight, but I assume he took a simple show of support for the LGBTQ community to mean I was now going to be into him somehow. Then he started to leave comments trying to sound like we are best friends or have known each other for years. Posts like "That's not the DJ I know" to a post about me being too tired to go to work, or responding with "You didn't tell me?" When I made a post about being back in his town for a couple hours to visit relatives. Why the fuck would I tell you about that? Do you think I'm going to invite this random man I met at a con to my cousin's house? Beginning of April. My birthday is in April. NB spends most of the day trying to FaceTime me so he can sing me the birthday song. A grown man spent his entire day, and I do mean entire day, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and about 8 different message attempts, a grown man who is not a professional singer. Trying to sing to another grown man, the birthday song, unrequested. The post comments and FB loves continue. I've been ignoring all of them. End of April. This was the culmination and what I had hoped would make him get the point that I was not interested. Avengers came out, and everyone is talking about it. A lot of people have seen pre-releases or are seeing it. I don't remember why, but I didn't see it opening night but opted to see it on Sunday evening. I'm relaxing at home on Friday and get a message from NB on Facebook. Now it should be stated that social media stalking and comments are so far all he's been doing. We haven't had any convo since in person 4 months ago. He starts off by asking is he interrupting me before bringing up some half-ass how's life been BS. I try to be cordial and polite enough on Facebook but am already fed up with him by now. We get on the subject of Infinity War and he asks who I'm seeing it with. Odd, since you don't know any of my friends. I tell him I don't know, but if need be I'll see it by myself since I don't want to go to work on Monday having not seen it. He then brings up how no dude, it's too epic of a movie, you have to see it with someone. I see where this is going and try to laugh it off with an okay, lol hopefully, to which he then proceeds to ask me where I live so he can drive close to 3 hours to see this movie with me. I tell him no thanks, but he keeps insisting on how I need a support person for the film. I finally snap on him about how I'm not interested in him, or seeing a movie with him, and how fucking creepy it is for someone I barely know and have only talked to for maybe 20 minutes now wants to drive across the fucking state to see a movie out of the blue. Despite this, he still insists it will be fun, and begins to tell me about all the people he knows in my area who he knows and could make a day out of it with. I tell him no, again before finally telling him to fuck off. Summer. NB kind of backs off. He is liking my statuses less and seldom comments. I'm thinking all is done now. That is, until yesterday. September 28th. A week ago I got a new phone, and forgot how to get into my Google account to get my contacts back. So I tell all my friends to text me with their picture so I can get their numbers. One of my buddies tells me he lost my number, so without much thought I comment my number in the replies. You can see where this is going. The week goes by without a hitch. I make a couple other status updates as usual here and there. Enough so that my one asking for phone numbers is no longer the first you see. Then yesterday morning, what wakes me up out of a dead sleep? You guessed it. NB texting me. 3 in a fucking row asking how I'm doing, what I'm up to. I lose it. After cussing him out, I block him on every platform possible. I know some of you are wondering why I didn't do that from the get-go. To be honest, I felt kind of bad for him at first. There were a couple times where I wondered maybe he did just really need a friend. Yesterday was the point where I finally followed up that question with, that's not my fucking problem.
Neckbeard wants me to be his goth loli princess by homoerotic-clown. Hey, this is my first post, so sorry if I screw anything up. So I'm gonna call this Neckbeard Tim, not his real name. So I met Tim on Omegle because I was bored and looking for someone to play Pokemon with. So Tim asks if I'm a girl and I said yes, big mistake. Then he asks my age. I said 13 because like I was 13. So then he asks for my Discord and I gave it to him because I'm a dumb 13-year-old with faith in the world. First thing he does is ask for a picture of me. I sent one, but I was wearing one of those Snapchat filters that basically covers half your face. He then says, wow, you're like a real loli, do you like anime? Keep in mind I was 57 and pretty developed for my age, so I wasn't really a loli at all. I told him yeah, I like anime, but please don't call me a loli. He ignores my statement. He then asked, do you have a boyfriend? I said yes BC at the time I did. He then went on and on about how I was his loli princess and I was his. I then asked to see his face BC. I wanted to see if he was a total neckbeard. He said no because you could send this to the police, so he sent a fat hand with sausage fingers. I never shame people for their bodies because I'm no Paris Hilton myself, but that hand was disgusting. Then I ask his age and he said 22. He then goes on about his weird kinks. Again, I don't judge, but I'm 14. He starts telling me to break up with my boyfriend and get with him. He keeps saying he'd treat me like his goth loli princess and how he'd never treat me like those other guys. It doesn't seem like he's gonna stop for a while. Even though I'm a dumbass, I finally get the hint this guy's not only a pedo but a neckbeard, so I block him and eat myself out that situation. Sorry if it was long or boring compared to other stories on here, just thought I'd share.
Chaste Sam the Chivalrous Tries to Sword, Part 2, or How a BeetusBeard Literally Scarred Me for Life by Lady_Saber. This will be the 7th installment of Chaste Sam the Chivalrous, and the long-awaited sequel to the first Sam Tries to Sword. Trigger warning, your jimmies will be rustled. Player 1 is me, LadySintora, 16-year-old exchange student from Belgium. Very avid fencer, been doing it for about 10 years. Couple this with my low TR and a soy of nerding, Neckbeard smoosh. Players 2 and 3 are my fencing coaches, Mr. and Mrs. Coach, husband and wife couple, really fabulous people, super dedicated to their sport. Mr. Coach is a large Eastern European mammoth man who sounds like a thunderstorm. Looks really intimidating, but is actually just a teddy bear in disguise. Mrs. Coach is almost as small as I am, but can still roar like a lion, tolerates no BS and is intent on making everyone perform better. Player 4 is smooth-cheeked Sam the Chaste and Chivalrous, the whitest knight of all, fat, sweaty, with a high-pitched voice. He has the personality of a nervous Pomeranian, except with more nervous quivering and nervous hate. Wears New Balance sneakers, plus 10 speed and 5 health, cargo shorts, plus 20 carry, cool story babe, now make me a sandwich t-shirt, and navy blue trilby with a feather in the band, combine for plus 35 negging. Also, smells like he bathed in Axe chocolate spray cologne, but still unable to mask the scent of rancid meat sauce. A small note about the setting. The short wall on the end of our gym functions as a rack for practice weapons. It's somewhat for show, but the weapons are all fully functional, so people who rent gear can use one. If you haven't read the first Sam Tries to Sword, go do that, seriously guys. Stuff that I talk about here will make a lot more sense. This story takes place the week after Christmas break, on Wednesday afternoon. School is back in session, as is fencing practice. I received a very nice fencing glove from my host family, so I'm intent on practicing with it. I have the same setup going on with my looks as described in the previous story. No makeup, hair tightly wrapped and out of the way, workout clothes for -10 attractive stat. Funny thing, Sam hasn't once told me I look naturally beautiful this way, like has always tirelessly plugging. I arrive an hour before practice, earlier than usual. Instead of running in the freezing cold rain, I'm in the gym, putting Mrs. Coach to shame on a leg machine. We each take turns one-upping each other until it's getting close to practice time. Mr. and Mrs. Coach go to set up, and I cool down with a short walk indoors and a drink of water. Sam doesn't show for warm-ups. Wednesday is the one day a week Hess signed up for practice, but am not surprised if Hess avoiding me or has just realized that copycatting my interests won't score him any points. I'm not complaining, I get into my zone and have a lot of fun. Instead of conditioning warm-ups, we play dodgeball, and am about as unstoppable as a smitten neckbeard's affections. We're suiting up for drills when Sam arrives, about as welcome as the fire marshal at a dorm party. His hair is so greasy that the rain just beads up on top of it. About half of our class are girls, so they're eyeing him with venom. Sam is oblivious, but senses a bit of awkwardness in the air, so he tries to break the tension with some light humor. Here I am. I just showed up for the fun part. I swear his voice is indistinguishable from Kyle's cousin. Crickets. The coaches hate when people do this. It's impossible to actually improve your form when all you want to do is show up for the last 45 minutes and swing a blade around. They won't get on your case for this, of course, because you've paid for a full lesson, and if you continue to suck you keep coming back for more. Mrs. Coach doesn't want to get near Sam, so Mr. Coach takes him to get rental gear. Mrs. Coach is explaining the drill to us when they both return. The saber group is an odd number again, so I sit the first round out, dressed in my uniform with my mask off. Mrs. Coach asks Sam why he skipped out on warm-ups today, and Sam goes full condescends. Well, last time the warm-ups made me really tired and so I couldn't free fence hardly at all. Yes, that's the idea. If you keep doing them, eventually you won't be so tired, and... But if I'm exhausted I can't practice the actual fencing though. It's annoying because I want to be better at sword fighting, not just doing lunges and footwork. Lunges and footwork are only 80% of fencing anyway, who needs it? Okay, Sam, let's just get you warmed up before you do drills. Give me 2 sets of advances and retria. What? I'm already in my uniform though. Good, it'll help you warm up faster. Mrs. Coach has about -0 patience for lazy people. I can tell she's straining. But I had asthma as a kid. If I get too hot I can have trouble breathing, and I haven't had an inhaler or a breathing treatment in forever. I don't think it's safe. Sam, a few sets of footwork won't kill you. I've got to teach drills, so let's go, okay? Shit lady, game on point as usual, Mrs. Coach. Sam is a little miffed that Mrs. Coach has no concern for his well-being. I'm the one paying you, so technically I should be the one in charge, and I came here to fence, not do some stupid drill. Mrs. Coach is 2 inches from snapping, so she gives it up. You're right, Sam. Grab a practice foil and jump in with your group. She turns on her heel, and goes to instruct the piests. Sam is smirking like he's just won a free pizza for outwitting a fundamentalist Christian. He swaggers to the wall of practice weapons, and is drawn to the sabers. I'm standing directly behind him and to his right, watching out of the corner of my eye. He wraps his sausage fingers around the handle, and he draws it out of the rack. He's holding it in a 2-handed death grip, nowhere near how you're actually supposed to hold a saber. I can see his imagination whirring away. Sam is a Japanese samurai warrior, in the midst of an epic battle. He takes a small downcut to split his midget opponent in half. Damn, no one saw that. It was totally epic. His next challenger is cut in half through the middle by a slow-motion side stroke. There's an enemy behind him, so he spins with the force of a great typhoon to decapitate his foe with one fell stroke. Unfortunately, he doesn't see Milady in the line of fire. It happens fast. I can see the blade coming towards me, getting bigger and bigger. I try to turn away, lean under the cut, but the weapon connects with the side of my face. There are 2 things I remember most about the impact. One is the sickening crunch, and the second is the blade dragging through my skin, scraping against bone as Sam pulls away. To call a saber, or any fencing weapon, blunt as a butter knife would be overstating the sharpness. It's nothing more than a rounded piece of iron with a flattened tip. However, if you take 2 pieces of iron and bang them together a few thousand times, they'll get some ragged edges, not to mention hundreds of tiny magnetized shavings clinging on for dear life. My memory is a little fuzzy after the hit. Everything runs together in a slurry of Mountain Dew and meat sauce. I got to ride in an ambulance. That was fun. I remember laughing because the sirens sounded weird. It's clear again when I wake up in a hospital bed. There's gauze over both eyes with little pinpricks in the center to see out of. The TV sucks, even if I could see the whole screen. Like some sick joke, My Little Pony is the only show that comes in 100% clear. The rest is shitty reality TV, local news, and soap opera reruns. All told, it's an impressive list of injuries. I took a fracture to the zygomatic bone, which is on the outside of the eye socket. I had a grade 3 lateral concussion, my brain went ping-pong from side to side, the laceration caused by the saber needed stitches. The weapon itself scratched my cornea, and left more than a dozen fragments behind in my skin, and a few in my eye. Some came out with a magnet, the others had to be picked out. They put me under for this, as a number of those fragments were trapped under my eyelids. I spent the night in the hospital after getting hit. Once it was clear I didn't have any permanent brain damage or swelling, I went home the next morning. I was on some wicked strong painkillers for the next few days. My face from my cheek to my temple swelled up and throbbed for the rest of the week. I avoided mirrors for a long time. Sarah Sam sent me flowers and a card. I didn't read the card, but I wish that I had. I'm sure it would have been great material. Additionally, even though what he did was an accident, Mr. and Mrs. Coach knew that I could have easily sued the pants off them, and disallowed Sam from fencing at their club anymore. Sam, or, at least, Sam's mom, had to pay to replace my fencing jacket, underarm protector, and lame, say it like lame, about $500 worth of gear. The cut scarred. It started out as thick as my thumb, bright pink, and ran from the corner of my eye to the middle of my temple. It's receded a lot since then and faded to pale white, but it's not going away any further. I spent a long time being ridiculously self-conscious about it. Now I think it looks fucking badass, but it's taken me a while to get there. I know this story was more feels than funny, but squeezing humor into this one felt like I was forcing cheese whiz back into the tube, so I cut the awkward cringy stuff out. I know, I said I wouldn't post for a while, and here I am, but I'm a dirty slut for upvotes. I am going to do important real-life things now and stop obsessively checking Reddit. I mean it this time, for seriously. If I have my chronology straight, Sarah Sam tries feminism should be next.
No sir, I am not cosplaying as your hentai waifu by LadySintora. Just a small story about that one neckbeard I met at a convention many years ago. I was about 14 years old and it was my first time cosplaying. I went to the convention as Mia Fey from Phoenix Wright, and yes, that character showed some cleavage but in an elegant way, which neither me nor my mom, who was with me the whole time, saw as too suggestive. People asked for pictures as they do, and I wasn't thinking anything bad when that typical neckbeard appeared, minus the fedora if I remember correctly. He was about 30 to 35 years old. He asked for a pic with me, I agreed and my mom took the photo. He put his arm around my shoulder but nothing more. But then, when he thanked me, he asked if I was insert name here from insert anime here. I did not know who that was and explained who I cosplayed as. He then explained that it was a character from a hentai he liked. Who actually remembers names of characters in hentai? I laughed nervously, made advances to leave, but he leaned in to ask me if I'd cosplay as his hentai girl for him, maybe do some poses. He even told me how warm he felt. I laughed again and left quickly. Luckily, he did not come after me. I truly believed that he knew that I wasn't 18 plus. Looking back at my cosplay pics, I'd say I looked 15 to 16 max. My mom didn't hear anything of the conversation and I did not tell her. So, does any one of you know what character he was talking about? Or do you think he was just trying to get me to a dirty topic?
Neckbeard gets angry with me for getting a girl's number by Calamus21. To start off, I need to apologize cause this is kinda long. This story happened about 2 years ago at my place of employment. I won't say the same of the company I worked for, but our job was to basically handle any service issues for whatever clients who hired us. The people in this story will obviously have their names changed. Me equals me. Greaseball equals Neckbeard. Katie equals co-worker and fixation of Greaseball. I first met Greaseball when he was assigned to my team. No one on our team was particularly thrilled about this because he already had a reputation during his time in training. He pretty much fit the stereotypical neckbeard. Overweight, scraggly beard that was mostly on his neck, which was probably for the best since when he shaved he looked like a giant man baby, and he always had some anime shirt on. He didn't always smell, but when he did it was horrible, like I had to cover my nose and breathe through my mouth. Unfortunately, Greaseball's desk was right next to mine. He was always bringing in these Gundam toys and putting them on his desk. He was also one of those guys who hated it when you called them toys. He'd freak out and say that they aren't toys, They're models. To make matters worse for me, I was team captain, which is basically the second in command of the team. Which meant whenever my boss, the team leader, wasn't around, any issues that other team members had would be dealt with by me. And since Greaseball couldn't get along with anyone else on the team, this would lead to complaints and sometimes straight-up yelling matches which myself or the team lead would have to stop. So this all started during one of our bi-weekly meetings. The company I worked for at the time was international, so there was always some small rule change or update in policy that required us to do an hour-long meeting to go over what was changing. We'd go into small groups, and at designated times we'd sit down with a trainer and discuss the changes. I had already finished my work and asked my boss if I could head to the meeting a little early, which he had no problem with. I ended up being the first one there, so I got on my phone and just hung out for a bit. Before long, people started filing in and taking their seats. This is where Katie comes in. I had never really talked to her before, but I'd seen her around. She was really short with blonde hair and big brown eyes. Incredibly attractive and incredibly friendly to just about everyone. She comes in and sits 2 seats to my left, leaving 1 seat between us. We start chatting a little bit, nothing flirty at that point, just your basic hi, how you doing, type stuff. This is when Greaseball comes stumbling through the door. At this point there are no seats left besides the one between me and Katie. Katie, being the friendly person that she is, waves Greaseball over and says, "I saved you a seat right here." Greaseball looked at her, and the moment I saw the look on his face I knew I was in for a show. So Greaseball comes rushing over to sit down. As he's sitting, Katie mentions that she likes the shirt he's wearing, some anime graphic shirt. Greaseball thanks her before glancing over at me. I didn't make eye contact or anything. I just gave him a quick "what's up?" and focused in on the trainer, who was starting her presentation. We actually made pretty good time because we got through the meeting 10 minutes ahead of schedule, and because of this we got to do whatever for 10 minutes. I pulled my phone back out and started looking through my newsfeed. It's at this moment when Greaseball starts bombarding Katie with questions. He asked her if she had ever watched the anime that was on his shirt, and she politely said no and that she wasn't into anime. I had never felt so much cringe in my life. I turned on my music and put my earbuds in to try and drown out the sounds of Greaseball. Katie leans over and sees me listening to music. She jumped and asked what I was listening to. I offered her one of my earbuds. I kinda knew this was an excuse to get away from Greaseball, so I rolled with it. Katie asked if Greaseball would switch her seats. Greaseball glared at me before looking back at her and grumbling as he stood up and swapped seats with her. Greaseball looked off and started talking to someone a few rows ahead of him while Katie and I listened to music. She made sure he wasn't listening before she thanked me for helping her get out of Greaseball's grasp. We talked for the rest of the time and we actually hit it off. She started getting flirty and I flirted back. Greaseball noticed this and it was clear he was furious about it. At the end of the meeting she gave me her number and I gave her mine. I left to go back to my team and Greaseball was right on my tail. He grabbed my shoulder to stop me and demanded to know what I was doing. I told him I didn't know what he was talking about. He then starts to go on a rant about how he and her were talking and I had no right to interrupt that. I laughed it off and told him to get back to work. For the rest of my time working for that company, Greaseball had a personal grudge against me. It only got worse after Katie and I actually started dating, and even to this day, long after I quit, my friends who still work there said he still grumbles about it to anyone who will listen.
Chaste says Sam the Chivalrous tries to feminism, or why telling women you want to empower them doesn't make for a good negging setup by Lady_Saber. Hi everyone, it's Lady Saber, back with the 8th installment of Says Sam. This story takes place the week after Says Sam put me in the ER. Player 1 is me, Lady Saber, 16-year-old foreign exchange student from Belgium. At the time, I'm on some pretty intense painkillers, so I'm high as a kite. Thankfully, I'm a happy, albeit emotional drunk. The swelling in my face has gone down considerably, and the color has faded from dark purple to yellows and greens. The cut itself is a very visible and angry red, with stitches still intact. I've laid it on thick with the foundation and concealer as much as possible, some crazy eyeliner and shadow colors to draw away attention, as well as wearing my hair forward, instead of back. As a note, I'm really into strategy games, chess and Go being my favorites. Player 2 is Sir Sam the Chaste and Chivalrous, the whitest knight in all the land. Inconsiderate meat planet with no tolerance for rejection, he wears New Balance sneakers, mid-calf socks, baggy light wash jeans, and a stained "this is what a feminist looks like" t-shirt under a puffy bubble coat. Thanks, Mom. Instead of spaghetti sauce, Sam reeks of Axe chocolate spray cologne. I can't imagine anything else than him seeing this commercial, and thinking that's how it works in real life. He still doesn't shower, but Axe spray is a fine substitute, right? Oh. I almost forgot that Trilby. How could I? It's atrocious, as usual, plain grey felt with a black band. Player 3 is John, guy I'm crushing on who shares my English class. Is outdoorsy, athletic, takes no BS, and is actually above average intelligence. Great at coming up with creative insults. He and Sam are arch nemesis. Wears bootylicious jeans, leather belt with a shiny buckle, a Venture Crew t-shirt and an American Eagle hoodie. John and I have a way of speaking to each other which sounds horrifying to anyone else. We call each other nasty names as a form of endearment. What's up, bitch? Nothing much, you dumb slut. If anyone else talked to me this way I would probably lose it with them, but for John and I it's a thing. Player 4 is my English teacher, Mr. Teacher. Pretty minor character, has a tall guy, has a lot of fun with his job. Usually wears a shirt and tie with nice pants. He thinks most of the students in his classes are idiots, but you'd never know it for his light-hearted demeanor. John and I had gotten pretty sick of chess club's neckbeardy atmosphere, so we decided to found our own Go club. Mr. Teacher, as it happened, was a pretty big fan of Go as well, so he agreed to be the sponsor and host the club a few times a week. To drum up some interest, we made some signs and posted them around the school, as well as making announcements in class. I did not know this until that Monday, but one of the English teachers who taught at the standard level had walked out of her job in the middle of the week, sick of the school system. The affected English classes were being spread on to the other English teachers until a replacement could be found. Guess which goodser ended up in my class? Lunchtime rolls around on Monday, the opening day for Go Club. It's a fun time, about a dozen people show up. Only Mr. Teacher has an actual Go set with a board and stones. For the rest, we have printed paper boards, with black and white MMs for pieces. There's a bunch of sheets with the rules, and Mr. Teacher and I are helping people trying to learn. John pairs off to play with someone else, and I wait for Mr. Teacher to do something on the computer before we start a game. Right on cue, guess who? Sir Sam swaggers in like a drunk circus monkey. He doesn't see me at first, being on the other side of the room. He says hello to Mr. Teacher. I hunker down to avoid being spotted, but lo and behold, Sir Oinkle sniffs me out like a truffle. He bumbles his way across the room, bonking tables and rubbing against people all the way. Hess carrying a half-empty 2-liter bottle of Diet Dr. Pepper. Before I know it, Hess hovering over me like a black hawk in Somalia. I'm greeted with a tip to the trilby. Hey Lady Saber. Glad to see you're back. I saw the announcement for this club and figured no one else but you could be behind it. Wanna play a game? By the way, you look a lot better today. And the backhandiest compliment ever award goes to. Sam plops into the chair in front of me, and it squeals in agony. I should have left right then, maybe told Sam I was waiting for someone. I would have, if I hadn't been so damn stoned. My brain wasn't looking for a way out of the situation, it was just saying "Height, girl, let's put on our seatbelts and do this thing." Thanks, brain. Sam gives me an oblivious smile. He makes a pretty big show of removing his jacket to showcase his Feminism shirt in all of its glory. For dorking's sake, tears a light-colored stain on the hem. He opens his lunchbox and sets up a buffet. Chicken salad, tuna salad, a thing of chips, and goddamn ravioli. The eruption of smell is on the nuclear level. People ask what is that? And Sam proudly obliges his fully loaded spork. He starts shoveling it in like his mouth is a freshly dug grave. I'm about to play as black, when he sets a piece down as white. Sam, black goes first. No. It's just like in chess, white goes first. I'm not in the mood to argue with someone so smart who clearly knows everything there is to know about the game, so I let him make up his own rules as we go along. He takes a swig from his bottle, backwashes half of it, and rips a belch that would put Robert Berthian to shame. It turns most of the heads in the room, and Sam thinks this is the funniest thing in the world. He giggles like a small child, and scarfs a few Emmys. John can see him in trouble, and stands to intervene. If something goes south on the first day, though, I doubt anyone will want to come again. John and Sam make eye contact, and I ward off John with a shake of my head. Sam smirks at John like he's the one who stared him down, and turns back to me with one arm draped over the back of his seat and his soda bottle in one hand. He thinks he looks cool, but he just looks like an alcoholic. You know, John isn't a feminist. Do you always begin conversations this way? I was recently introduced to the Princess Bride while on bed rest, so I shamelessly make references. Haha, not really I guess. Well, I've been reading a lot about feminism lately. About how women should be empowered to make their own choices about shit, and John isn't the kind of guy who would be a feminist. Hell just, like, fucking go up and put his arm around you without your consent. I think that's pretty fucking messed up. Sam sounds like an 11-year-old on Xbox Live, and it physically hurts to listen. Hess onto the chips now, and barbecue flavor dust is building up in dull orange snowdrifts. Crumbs are accumulating on his lips, as well, like the crust on a crumb roll. Now, I'm not the kind of person that wants to be asked every 5 seconds, is this okay? May I hold your hand? I like it when someone can read my signals of approval or disapproval, and handles the situation with confidence. I'm laughing at your joke. Alright, I see you touching my elbow. I'll touch your elbow too. Yay, I'm cool with your arm around my waist. Whoa, okay, that hand is going a little low, notice how I shrugged my hips? Yay, there you go, stay right there. This is how people actually communicate, not by narrating every physical action to each other and begging for approval or pardon. His whole image is so comical and ridiculous, I can't help but giggle like an idiot. I don't want to, but I can't help myself. Inconceivable, I reply, in my drug-addled, lilting voice. That's funny, too, so I go into another fit of giggles. Sam takes my actions as genuine interest, not that I can really blame him. He powers through like it's his second plate of mashed potatoes, clearly impressed that I can analog with his extraordinary lexicons. I know, right? I also really hate how the patriarchy forces women to uphold unrealistic beauty standards, stupid stuff like makeup and heels. I think it would be great if everyone could just liberate themselves from the double standards. I still don't get why you feel like you have to wear so much makeup, honestly you look just as good without it. For half of this time, his eyes are drifting up to the cut on my face. It's making me feel really self-conscious, so I turn my head to hide it, almost to the extent that I'm looking directly away from him. I don't think things like blemishes or cuts and scars and stretch marks need to be covered up. Honestly, most of that stuff is pretty sexy. He wipes his hands on his shirt, leaving orange tiger stripes for +5 melee combat strength. This pushes me in the opposite direction of giggles. My throat catches, and I can feel tears welling up. I excuse myself, run to the bathroom, and spend about 10 minutes crying. I do come back, but not to Sam's game. Instead, I slide a chair up next to John and get a much-needed hug. We stay this way for the rest of lunch, with Sam eyeing us disdainfully from across the room. When the bell rings, Sam makes a valiant approach to rescue Milady from the patriarchy. "Hey, Lady Saber. Are you okay? If I hurt your feelings, I didn't." John cuts in. "Fuck off, Sam. I wasn't speaking to you, John, I was talking to. Lady Saber doesn't want to talk to you. Fuck off. I think the lady can speak foe. Last chance, Sam." Sam puts his hands up in marking defensiveness and backpedals. "Ha ha, okay then, just trying to help. Least him not this guy, right? Ha ha." He tips his hat and excuses himself with "Good day, my lady." This is not the end. Overnight, I manage to develop a shiner, as some of the blood from the side of my face pools near my eye. Makeup saves the day, but it's not totally hidden. After school, Sam is hovering nearby like Teresa ribbon cutting at a new McBeetus, while John and I talk near the bus loop. John, in our usual fashion, tells me I'm a fabulous bitch muffin, and my great white whale champion is close at hand to defend milady's honor. "John, what did you just call Lady Saber?" John gives him a quizzical look. I turn to Sam. "It's fine, he didn't mean it like." "Holy shit, Lady Saber, is that a black eye?" Entirely too loud. People all around are looking at us like we're from the zoo. "Jesus Christ, John, did you fucking hit her?" "No," John replies. My French instincts kick in as I retreat to his side. "Oh, sure, deny it all you want, but we can all see that bruise." "Sam, Lady Saber has a bruise because you hit her in the face with a piece of metal, you heroically stupid cunt." He doesn't have much of an answer for that, so he derails the train wreck further. "Why do you use the word cunt like it's an insult? You know, female body parts aren't inferior, John, and I'm sure others would agree that sexist language isn't very becoming, not that someone who isn't a gentleman would understand." "Whatever you say. Delusional shit rocket." John gives Sam a sweeping bow before turning his back, and boxing him out. Sam skulks off. Why can't Milady just appreciate his concern for Milady's well-being? He texts me later. "Hey, I understand how hard it is to be in an abusive relationship like that, but I'm here if you need someone to talk to." "I'm not in an abusive relationship." "Okay, if you say so, but the offer still stands lol." "Sam, you need to stop forcing yourself between me and John." That evening, John and I make ourselves Facebook official. There's no reply from the Butterfront, except for a cascade of Facebook posts. I thought he deleted all of them, but by some miracle, trigger warning app gets wrecked, this one survives. John and I cut school the next morning to go see the Hobbit. You need a break from that fat dick fart. So eloquent. We go to lunch, and spend the afternoon shopping. I, like most European exchange students, went nuts buying cheap clothes in American department stores. Sam does not miss an opportunity to text me that John is clearly a bad influence on my education. Thanks, Dad. The following day at school, I'm looking fierce in a leather biker jacket, a white tank underneath, dark wash jeans, and boot heels. In English, we're working in the computer lab, and Sam gets assigned a seat near me. Hess still snacking and chugging a huge bottle of Coke, despite the no eating or drinking rule. The sap in between us can't stop Sam from crawling over him, leaning over his keyboard and getting in the way to blather on about how it's so great that him destroying the gender binary by wearing androgynous clothings. Eventually, the guy between us gets tired of cringing. Dude, shut up. Sam retreats into his place, but doesn't stop talking, or stuffing his face, for a second. He goes full fat logic towards the end of this rant, telling me earned multiple mouthfuls and in way too much detail why fat girls are prettier than skinny girls. 99% of people's body types are totally genetic no matter what, I mean we're all fat when we're born anyways. That may be true, but I don't think I've ever met someone who was born a Gorillasaurus. Like, I bet you'd be a lot better off if you just ate more. He finishes with a satisfied chuckle and a fistful of cheese puffs. I eat more than 3,000 calories a day to maintain my workout schedule, and that's mostly vegetables and real food full of stuff your body wants, not neon orange and green packaged garbage full of sodium hexametabetus and methyl ethyl nasty shit. If people's body types are genetic, then why is hating on skinny girls okay? Shitmladying intensifies. I'm not hating. I mean plus, you can always just eat more. Yay, you can always just exercise more too. Plus 500 exp, shitmlady leveled up. Gosh Lady Saber, I had no idea you were so body negative. Some people have medical conditions like asthma and heart disease so they can't exercise, no matter what. Plus, your body type is determined at birth, so you can't change it. I have asthma, so are you blaming me for my genes? No one, asthma or otherwise, should be able to breathe with that much food clogging their face hole. I diffuse the cringe balm, though, and let him off with you're right. He turns away with a satisfied smirk, having clearly bested Mlady in a duel of wits. To this day, I do not know from where this feminism shade sprouted forth. I'm assuming he saw something like this image, but I still don't know. Regardless, he definitely thought it would be a great ploy to get him laid. I would detail more, as interactions like this go on for the next 2 weeks, but we've already got ourselves a supersized with extra fries story as it is. I had hoped to publish this story last night, this morning. But anything I write after 11:30 p.m. is shit, so I spent most of today fixing what I messed up. Merry Christmas, m'lords and m'ladies, and may you have a most euphoric new year.
A wild neckbeard encounter at the cafeteria by Todesengal. Well, look who it is. It's NBS again. This tale is a bit older than my last one, a little over a year old, so the dialogue is a bit fuzzy in detail. I don't know how other universities are, but I would assume that every university has their fair share of neckbeards hiding in the damp, dark corners. My university was practically riddled with them, and I've never even seen the IT majors emerge from their refuse. To understand this tale, I must explain the layout of the university a bit. There's the General Student Union building that contains a cafeteria, a convenience store, some fancy offices and ballrooms upstairs, and a large area just for people to sit around and socialize between classes. In addition to this building is a building that used to be the old cafeteria before the student union was built. This was just converted into a food court last year that had a world of wings and a Quiznos. It provides a nice place for commuter students to eat since the cafeteria in the student union requires a meal plan. However, during the 3 years that the old cafeteria lay unused and vacant, the nerds took over. It became a hubbub of nerd activity. A couple of tables were permanently delegated for Magic, the Gathering games, and the anime club occasionally took over the building for meetings. The back half of the cafeteria became known as Nerd Town, and was always occupied by the same core group of nerds with additional friends/club members floating around occasionally. There were a few females that regularly occupied the area, but both they and the vast number of males that formed Nerd Town were infamous for not having very good social skills. It was a utopia for neckbeards. Now, fast forward to a couple of months after the renovation. Nerd Town is still stubbornly occupying the cafeteria, but keep to themselves and no one bothers them. Finally, meet the cast. Me, Toda, 21. Commuter student who is on campus for longer than I care to be on a daily basis. After some confusion from my last story, I must add that I am female. Once again my Pokémon tattoos are on display. Morpheus, 23, Nerd Town occupant who I am good friends with. Dresses like he is in the Matrix. King, Beard, 2, King of Nerd Town. One of the permanent residents who only leaves his den of nerdosity to attend class and sleep, according to Morpheus. Finally, let's begin our story. It is a hot Georgia summer day. I am currently in a 2-hour-long break between my classes. I contemplate running back to the apartment and eating lunch, but I don't feel like walking all the way out to the parking lot, getting in the hot box my car has no doubt become, and boiling all the way back to my apartment. Yeah, fuck that, I'll just gorge myself on wings. Motherfucking wings, oh yes. I enter the cafeteria and welcome the blissful chill of the air conditioning. In the back I see the omnipresent gathering of nerds. Morpheus waves at me, I wave back. He doesn't expect me to come over and greet him, as I tend to be antisocial and don't like most of the people he hangs out with. It's cool, he accepts the fact that I'm a bitch. As I wave to Morpheus, I make unfortunate eye contact with the massive blob of a human next to him. He waves at me, too, and I quickly turn away. Yeah, I am a bitch. I just don't like people. I receive my delicious heart attack bundle and find an isolated seat. Nom. Delicious. Nom. Nom. Oh my god, there's cheese on these fries, oh my god, and there's bacon. Since I'm eating alone and God forbid I have nothing to do, I pull out my DS and play Can You Guess? If you guessed Pokémon, you're wrong. It was actually one of the Phoenix Wright games, don't remember which one. I had the volume up a bit, so you could clearly hear the objections being belted from the speakers. Eating wings and playing video games at the same time is actually kind of hard. Shit, there is sauce everywhere. Hello. Oh no. I look up to see Kingbeard. He is a good 5 inches taller than me, probably around 5 feet 9 inches, and I would eyeball him at about 250, to be gracious. He was probably closer to 300, but whatever. He had moobs, and he subsequently had moob sweat stains. Yoon. Currently a thin, red t-shirt with some video game reference was stretching past its limit over those sweaty man boobs, and I could see pretty big pit stains as well. I mean, I can't judge since I sweat a lot and it's friggin' hot, but still. Ew. I at least don't smell like a pile of sweaty, garlic-ridden manure. Was he wearing? Yes he was. He was wearing a Naruto headband. Dude, those went out of fashion when I was in high school, why is he still wearing one? I reluctantly reply. Hey. His eyes straight to my chest, where they are sadly disappointed, then to the screen of my DS. He takes in a meaty breath. Kingbeard, you're playing Phoenix, right? Me, MMHM. Kingbeard, that's one of my favorite games. Me, ah. Behind him I can see Morpheus sitting, watching the whole spectacle with a shit-eating grin. I feel my phone vibrate in my pocket. Not even caring about Kingbeard standing in front of me, I pull out the phone and start texting. It's from Morpheus, sorry. I text back for what? As Kingbeard continues. Kingbeard, have you played the latest one, with underscore? I don't fucking remember. Me, no. Don't have enough money. As I sit there eating my overpriced wings, Kingbeard sees a chance. Kingbeard, well, you know, I have it, and I'm sure as long as you return it I could let you borrow it. Me, Another text from Morpheus, he heard you playing PW and started asking me questions about you. Judas, I text back. There is a horrible grinding, squeaking noise. I look up to see Kingbeard squeezing himself into the seat across from me in the booth. Me, why? Kingbeard, so, I saw your tattoos. You like Pokémon? Me, no. I just have them on my ankles because fucking whatever. To his credit, he took my rudeness in stride. Kingbeard, oh, well, I noticed you have Igglybuff. I think Igglybuff is the cutest Pokémon. Me, huh? Ye what the? His fucking foot is rubbing on the inside of my ankle where my Igglybuff tattoo is. Me, what the fug, dude? Kingbeard, oh, snort, sorry, I thought that was the table leg. It's still touching me. Me, well, it's not. so stop rubbing it. Reluctantly, he withdraws his stubby leg. We sit there in silence. I am too antisocial to actually tell him to go the fuck away, but I don't want to leave because I don't feel like going anywhere else before class. I instead focus my attention back on my game and hope he'll just go away. Several minutes pass, and he still doesn't budge. He keeps making random observations about the game that I either grunt in response to or just straight up ignore. I see movement on the tabletop in my peripheral vision. His hand is coming towards me. I tense in preparation to smack the shit out of him if he thinks about touching me. Instead, to my disbelief, the motherfucker starts eating my fries. He manages to cram a few in before I find my voice. Me, dude. He makes a disgusting slurping noise. Cheese is now plastered on his lips and chin. King, Beard, what? You weren't eating them. Me, you didn't even ask. Prepare your jimmies, my friends. This is truly where it gets fucky. This is where I lose my watts. King, Beard scoff, it's not like you need them. Is he calling me fat? Girls should keep their figure, and know when to stop eating. He is definitely calling me fat. I am doing you a favor, this stuff is way too bad for your health. Plus, I haven't eaten since like 11, I'm starving. It's 1:30. I don't even know how to address the fat and neckbeard logic. Me, you still didn't ask me, dude. King, Beard goes inexplicably red in the face at this, and starts huffing and puffing in a rage. I'm in for it now, NBS. I don't remember the full rant, which went on for a few minutes as I sat there unable to say anything, but here are some snippets I recall being practically shouted in my face. I shouldn't have to ask. You should have been offering me the food since I was being nice and talking to you. You don't need this food anyway, I saw you walk in, your thighs are disgusting. Unlike you, I try to keep my body in shape, and my carbs were getting low from working out so much. You probably like it when guys are assholes to you anyway, so why are you getting mad? That one was my favorite. That was the one part of this story that is word for word replicated from the incident, because it was ingrained into my mind. I laughed about it for days. If you want this cheese so much, why don't you come get it? Suggestive lick at his chin. That last one was the last straw for me. I'm usually pretty beta as fug, but if you fuck with my food or my video games, you're going to have a bad time. And this motherfucker just ruined the rest of my delicious lunch. Me, fine, I don't want this shit anymore. He pauses in his rant. King, Beard, oh, so now I can have it? Now you're just going to roll over and let me have my way? I have no more watts left for you, sir. Just, no more. Me, yeah. I stand up, shoving my DS into my backpack and slinging the bag onto my shoulders. He looks pissed about losing a prospective milady, but excited at the prospect of cheesy fries and wings. I glance at Morpheus, who looks disappointed that I didn't explode on the guy. He shrugs. I glance back at Kingbeard, who is sneering at me like he's won somehow. That fucking sneer sealed the deal. I lean down and grab the basket of food. He makes a grab for it, but I am too fast. Me, here, shit blimp, have your fucking food. The basket is slammed into his face, the sound of the impact reverberating through the cafeteria and drawing the attention of all the occupants. I hear a couple of gasps from Nerd Town. As the basket falls back to the table, I am rewarded by the sight of his greasy, acne-ridden maw covered with cheese and wing debris. Droplets of gooey cheese arc through the air as he sputters in disbelief. I stare down at the tableau of cheesy justice for just a moment longer. Then, my jimmies soothed, I turn and, with a final nod to a laughing Morpheus, disappear into the horizon.
Sir Sam the Chivalrous tries to Athiesm, or why debating in real life is harder without a Thesaurus by Lady_Saber. Hi everyone, it's Lady Saber, back with the 9th installment of Sir Sam. This story takes place after the previous, but somewhat in tandem with Sir Sam's feminism streak. Sorry it's taken me a while to write this story, I had to nail down a few projects in real life. I also encountered a PC game called This War of Mine which is fucking fantastic and you should definitely play it. As a note to new readers, we're far along enough in this series where re-explaining all the background and settings would be pretty boring to the regulars. If you haven't read the other stories, go find Ladybot in the comments and slurp up that euphoric, carbonated goodness. Player 1 is me, Lady Saber, still recovering from my face bashing incident, but doing much better. The coloration has normalized significantly and I'm slowly coming off the painkillers. The cut itself is closing enough that I don't have to bandage it regularly, although it's still very noticeable. Player 2 is Sir Samuel Smooth Cheeks, the chaste and chivalrous knight. Enormous butter parade, socially impotent, with a terminal diagnosis of nice guy syndrome. Wears New Balance, baggy jeans, wide-brimmed brown fedora, and corduroy jacket. 0-10 would not tip. Smells like he bathes and brushes his teeth with spaghetti sauce, thickly veiled with Axe chocolate spray. Also a militant atheist, sent to Earth by Dawkins himself to enlighten the world with his own intelligence. This story takes place at Go Club. There's about 15 people there today, all playing with black and white Ms. After helping some of the new members set up, I sit down to eat my lunch, well ensconced in the back corner of the room. Everyone's favorite cringe factory shows up late. The door to the room is locked, so he grabs the handle and throttles it like his firstborn child, jerking back and forth while pressing his face against the tiny slit of glass. You'd think a horde of zombies were behind him. The fast kind too, from the World War Z movie. Those fuckers were scary. Mr. Teacher is visibly annoyed, and reluctantly gets up from his desk to open the door for Sir Sam. The human hippo saunters in and acknowledges Mr. Teacher with a tip of the hat before scanning the room. He spots me quickly and moves in my direction, much in the way that a derailed freight train might move towards the children's cancer clinic. Tables are bumped carried sorry, boards and pieces shift carried my bad, and sides brush like the Titanic brushed the iceberg. Who is the boat and who is the iceberg is somewhat unclear in this situation. At long last, he reaches me, and finds there is no chair for him to plop into. No problem, an empty chair is located at another table group and dragged across the tile floor, making the same grinding screech as Satan's pet goose. Satisfied, he plops in and, with a tip of the brim, breaks out lunch. 2 bags, 2 enormous things of fries, and a big gulp cup. He starts unwrapping this feast in front of me, carefully peeling back the grease-infused paper like it's Christmas morning. I know that has such a hound, but this is just insane. I got you some lunch. Oh. Did you sprinkle in a side of Rohypnol just for me? Sorry I'm late, I had to sneak off campus to get it. He says this like he just Mission Impossibled his way into a Burger King, when in reality sneaking off campus involves nothing more than walking out the back doors with dozens of other underclassmen. I've already got lunch, Sam indicating my small plate of sushi. That's your fucking lunch? Jesus, Lady Saber, no wonder you're so skinny. You need to eat more. Because you're just the gold standard of dietary health. Sam, if you're going to be mean, I'm not going to talk to you today. I had recently started Sir Sam on a diet, figuratively speaking. If he said something mean, gross, or made a sad attempt at negging, I'd tell him so, and stop responding for the rest of the day. Hess moved past having a temper tantrum at this point, and will either sulk or furiously backpedal. Okay, it was just a fucking joke. Seriously, though. Lunch. I got 2 burgers and fries plus a drink. Being a communist socialist fascist terrorist European, I'm not overly fond of hamburgers or fast food. I don't like the taste, and the greasy texture makes me want to gag. I don't mind soda, but that cup looks like it's the size of my torso. I don't even think I could drink that much water. I've got my own lunch, Sam. No thanks. Sam looks a little frustrated, but can't see a way to talk me into it. He dives into the buffet, inhaling both cups of fries with his mouth vacuum, before demolishing one double-stacked burger. Food goes in, tiny projectiles of meat slurry are ejaculated back. I shift to the side, trying to keep my plate and eye out of the blast radius of the volcanic eruption. I listen to the sloppy mouth chewing while my appetite disintegrates like soggy cheese puffs. By now, Sir Sam has pulled out his phone and begun his odd way of stimulating conversation. He loads a video on YouTube, cranks up the volume on the speakers, and overacts his reactions to said video. Today, the video of choice is an episode of the Atheist Experience, though I hadn't heard of it yet. Try as I might to tune out the low-quality blaring audio, it's Sam's over-the-top "oh man, he got fucking told" that pushes me over. Sam, can you turn that off? It's really loud. It's the Atheist Experience. Thank you for providing the appropriate answer to my request. I'm about to respond, but I must have given away a confused look, because he immediately cuts me off. You've never heard of the Atheist Experience? OMG, no, I haven't. Please tell me more. 1:11:1. No, boo. Oh man, it's the best. These guys take calls from, like, religious whack jobs and totally show them up every time. It's so funny. You've really never heard of it before? No, I haven't. Wanna watch this episode with me? Romantic. Sorry Sam, doesn't sound like my thing. Oh no, please don't tell me that you go to church. He phrases this almost rhetorically, like he knows someone who's almost as smart as he is wouldn't possibly fall for the diverse intellectual fallacies of organizationalized religion. Right? Yay. I'm an agnostic, but I still go to Catholic Church. Do I believe in what they spout? No, for the most part. Do I support the doctrine? Absolutely not. My father is religious, though, so we go as a family, and I've always enjoyed the community and volunteer stuff. I know a number of other church-going atheists who feel the same way. However, in a moment of madness, I challenge him to a battle of wits. For the princess. To the death. He accepts. Seriously? Super serial. Yes, I go to church. Sam isn't quite sure how to respond to this, so he leans over the desk and rests his forehead against the side of his hand. After a few seconds of despondence at the magnitude of milady's ignorance, he collects his jimmies and presses onward. Why? Seriously, how could you support the most genocidal organization known to man? Because my family is religious, so I go with them. Oh. Well, it's not really your fault for being indoctrinated. I mean, so was I, but then I learned to think for myself. I can see where this is going, so I try to disengage. I go to work with my nail file, attempting to overact my disinterest in this topic. Subtlety is not exactly Sam's strong suit, I know, I'm a slow learner. The euphoric gentleesser cannot neglect this opportunity to enlighten lady. Still, I think everyone has a responsibility to liberate themselves from that institution. The church just doesn't do anyone any good at all, and it never has. They've just been killing other people and each other for thousands of years, and all because of religion, and they use their Bible to justify it. There's just no point, and nothing good ever comes out of it. He talks in circles like this for a full 10 minutes before running out of steam and having to rehydrate with whatever is sloshing around in the now half-empty big gulp. I've managed to grind a flat spot in my thumbnail. Damn it. Remember how I mentioned the volunteer stuff? But what about all the charity work that people do? You said it yourself, people do. They don't need the church. People should do good things just for being good, not because they think a magic sky wizard wants them to. Hess leaning halfway across the table, hands clasped mightily in the center. I actually looked up the Atheist Experience afterwards, and realized that Sam was trying his hardest to imitate one of the guys on the show. It hurts to think about. I halfway agree with his thought, but without the church, wouldn't it be kind of hard to find a platform to do charity work? Nonsense. I wish I was kidding. Anyone can start a charity and do good deeds. Okay, what's one that you know of? He can't actually name any, and instead falls back on I think if you're a truly good person you don't need the promise of heaven. I think that if you're a truly good person you do good things, but am not smart enough to understand Sir Sam's intellectual reasonings anyway. Sir Sam's anger is starting to bubble like a shaken dew bottle, but Hess straining to keep it civil. The second burger is made as a sacrifice to his stress and devoured in 3 bites, just before Hess saved by the bell and makes a quick exit. That evening, right on cue, Facebook gets doused like a Gizmo detainee. This post, and this argument, are the only survivors. Take a moment to bask in that shining euphoric enlightenment. Similar to his feminism, Sam's atheism is a long-term ordeal, and I can't document every delicious encounter at length, would that I could, without sacrificing other parts of the saga. Sir Sam Tries to Nerd should be the next story. Edited for links.
Neckbeard who just wanted to make sure Milady was safe by deleted. Cast, me, chemical uprising, female, 20 years old, education student. Sam, female, 19 years old, art student. Neckbeard Mike, 22, engineering student and all-around awkward guy. Basically I met Neckbeard Mike through Sam during my first year of university. I would catch the bus and train home with the both of them, as they both lived in my area, which was uncommon for the people at the university we attended. Now Neckbeard Mike was a tall, frumpy guy with greasy short hair and a puby neck beard who reeked of BO. He wore gamer shirts, baggy, ill-fitted jeans and New Balance trainers every day, and always got a little bit too close to people when he spoke to them. He didn't wear a fedora, but did like them and thought they were fashionable. I didn't necessarily like Mike a whole lot, but I tolerated him because Sam had known him for many years and unfortunately he was always around. One day I arrived at the bus stop, and Sam wasn't there. After shooting her a text, I found out she was sick. I glanced around, I noticed NM wasn't there either and felt relieved because I wasn't willing to make conversation with his creepy ass. I waited by the stop and put my headphones in, just wanting to be home. A few minutes later I felt a grab at my waist from behind. Naturally I was shocked, and turned around to see who grabbed me. Standing there with a shit-eating grin was NM. "What the fuck dude," I said, and he just said, "Chemical uprising. It's just us two catching the bus tonight, this ought to be a fun time." Now one thing about NM was that he is a serious stalker. He once told me he used to wait 4+ hours for his coworker to finish work so he could walk her to her car. She ended up complaining about him and telling the manager she felt creeped out, and they never rostered him on with her again. He would rant about how he was such a nice guy and that he didn't deserve to be in trouble for doing such a gentlemanly deed. The words slut, whore and ungrateful bitch were used to describe the coworker that got him into trouble. He ended up doing this to countless other female coworkers. He even followed one home and wouldn't leave until the lady called the cops. She got a restraining order against him and quit her job. Back to the story, so we make small talk until the bus finally arrives. The bus was empty and I sat in a 4-seater. NM sat right next to me. Feeling uncomfortable I asked him if he could sit opposite me, as I needed some space. It had been a long day and I didn't want to deal with his bullshit. He moved, and would not stop smiling at me in a super creepy manner. After minutes of awkward silence and creepy stares, I said, "Dude, what?" Then he said, "Has anyone ever told you that you're stunning, milady?" He literally said milady. I shuddered. "Look Mike, I like you as a friend, nothing more. So quit being creepy," he said very well and continued to grin wildly. At one point during the bus ride, he rubbed his foot on my leg. MFW, I realized what he was doing. After expressing my annoyance he immediately stopped and looked pissed. Finally, the bus pulled up to my stop, fuck yeah, which was long before NM's stop. I said later to NM and I hopped off the bus, and he also got off the bus. I asked him what he was doing / where he was headed and he said, "Just making sure you get home safely." By this point I was furious. "Mike, look buddy, I've had a long day and I appreciate you trying to be nice, but honestly I am fine getting home by myself." He didn't take this as me telling him to fuck off. Instead he said, all the more reason to make sure you get home safely, you're tired and could hurt yourself somehow. Not wanting this greasy beast of a neckbeard to know where I live, I walked to the shopping center near my house and tried to lose him. He was surprisingly quick at following given his frumpy frame, and managed to find me just as I was exiting the center. Chemical uprising. There you are. With all that chasing, one's to think you were trying to ditch me MFW. Look Mike, I'm going home now, I'm perfectly safe, you best go home as well, but how will I know you got through the doors of your home safe without injury? Mike, mate, look, leave me alone okay, you're starting to creep me out MFW. He wouldn't leave after 15 minutes of me telling him to go home. I ended up calling my mom to pick me up because I didn't want him knowing where I lived. He started chasing the car in a half-assed manner and looked seriously pissed when he realized he wasn't faster than a vehicle obviously. That night I had 15 Facebook messages asking if I was safe and about how we should do things alone more often. I ignored every message, and shortly after he began posting a bunch of statuses on Facebook about how women don't appreciate nice guys anymore. That concludes this story of Neckbeard Mike. Let me know if you're interested in more NM stories, because I have plenty.
My friends called him Satan by alittlewish. Long-time stalker, first-time poster. I've been lucky to only truly know one neckbeard in my life, though oh what a neckbeard he was. It was my first year of university. Now, I'm an expat kid, so, despite being an introvert of the highest order, I know how to make friends fast, but unfortunately, also, indiscriminately. I'm resigned to leaving people behind in 6 months to a year, so my friendships are super shallow and it doesn't really matter who I make them with. Which is how I met Satan. It was some halls, dorm, party mostly for us freshers, although I quickly learned that my halls had the rep for the wildest parties and the best student bar, so everyone usually turned up there. One of my new friends dragged me outside for a cigarette where we ran into this guy in a trench coat with a little Satan goatee, glasses, couple extra chins, the usual. He had a little posse of similar-looking dudes around him, but he was clearly King Neckbeard by virtue of being a senior and the loudest opinions on Kent. For the record, I really didn't know what a neckbeard was at that point. I led a pretty sheltered, offline life, and most of it was in the Middle East, where we don't exactly have the same social tropes as Western society. When Satan starts up a conversation with me, I politely chat to him until my cigs burnt out, then me and my friend leave. No weirdness, no big deal. A couple days later, I see Satan on my way back from the library. We chat a little, again out of politeness on my part. We don't really have anything in common, but I figure university is kind of like that, you cast a wide net and then narrow down your real friends later. So far, he hasn't done anything creepy or untoward, so I'm cool with it. Fast forward through a couple of months. I see Satan around more and more, an almost surprising amount for someone that doesn't live in my halls. I assume he has a friend there. We chat a little, 5-minute increments at most, usually when I'm on my way to or from somewhere. He kind of starts putting the moves on in the most backwards way possible. I'm talking light negging interspersed with nice guy shit. I just sort of eye roll and ignore it. One night, he comes onto our floor at like 9 p.m. drunk as hell, and I'm in the shared kitchen making a cup of tea. Suddenly, with no warning, he drops to a knee, grabs my hand, and asks me to marry him. Oh, I should also mention that I'm 16 here, and Satan is 21. Because of my messed up, multi-curriculum patchwork schooling, I ended up skipping 2 grades by the end of high school, but since I had the appropriate credits and the desire not to hang out with my parents for an extra 2 years, I just headed straight on over to uni. Everyone knows this, including Satan. Anyway, he's got this whole speech prepared about how beautiful I am and how happy he could make me, and as if it wasn't cringe enough, how gorgeous our coffee-colored children would be. I scream internally, A couple of rugby club guys from my floor hear the commotion of his pleading getting increasingly loud as I refuse to entertain this drunken idiot, and they have to drag him out. He comes by the next day and apologizes, says the alcohol got to him and it won't happen again. I shrug it off because hey, too much booze happens to the best of us. Things go back to normal. Except they don't. Suddenly he's everywhere. In the laundry room, in the library, in the cafeteria trying to pay for my lunch. I can't get away from this guy. It's like he knows where I'm going to be every second of the day and it's unbearable. My friends find it funny at first, but that quickly morphs into creepy. They nickname him Satan, and one of them floats the idea of reporting him to campus security. But I mean, technically he hasn't done anything wrong except creep, and I'm a big tough 5 feet 10 inches girl who grew up with brothers, whereas he's just a doughball whose most pressing physical challenge is bending down to tie his laces. What's the worst that can happen? As it turns out, breaking the lock off my door in the middle of the night and getting into bed with me is the worst that can happen. I'm a pretty light sleeper, so the minute the mattress starts tilting all the way in the other direction, I wake up. Disorientated, I turn over, see the shape of someone in my bed, and my brain, hardened by midnight pranks from my bratty little brothers, automatically assumes I'm about to get a water balloon to the face or some shit. I sit up and shove the guy as hard as I can. He shrieks and falls off the bed. Logic doesn't set in for me until I click the light on and I see Satan lying on the floor, his trousers half unzipped, with a boner, practically crying. I think he landed on it. I have inappropriate panic reactions, so at that point I just started laughing. Like, hysterically laughing. He, perhaps understandably, gets super mad and tries to chew me out for being obtuse and cold and a tease and a bunch of other charming things, which he rounds off with a dramatic, Grey's Anatomy scream of "Why won't you just let me love you?" By now, pretty much everyone on my floor is awake and in my room and totally scandalized. Someone's called campus security, someone else has called the police. Satan is escorted off campus never to return. I do see him a couple years later, in a grocery store. I'm with my BF at the time, and I can see Satan's doubled his weight and expanded his goatee to a full-on neckbeard. He tries to hide behind a display of can bins when he spots me, but I'm in the mood for fuckery, so I wander over to the display like I'm actually going to buy some of those bins and casually start up a conversation with him. He's about where you'd expect someone expelled from uni for breaking and entering. I didn't press charges, but the uni did, to be unemployed, directionless, and living at home. I notice that he's wearing a gravy-stained t-shirt with some kinda anime girl with big eyes and her baps out on it. Now I'm clued up enough to play neckbeard bingo. As we're leaving, my BF turns to me and asks, "Hey, isn't that the guy that stalked you first year?" As loud as one can possibly be. I affirm, equally loudly. He starts chasing me through the supermarket screeching, "Why won't you just let me love you?"
X post from r/weeaboo tales. I work in an industry of cringe by Maegamists. Let me preface this by saying I have no idea how to format on the mobile version of Reddit, so that's why this is going to look boring. Hi. I've stated on a couple of subs that I'm perfect neckbeard bait. And that's because, well, I'm a cosplay model. My part-time job while I'm finishing up high school is to dress up as my favorite video game/anime/comic book characters and participate in photo shoots and cons. I work at least one con per month around America, and do photo shoots at least once a week. It's a really fun job. I'm a super huge geek and I make a lot of friends doing it, plus it kinda builds my self-esteem. But as you can imagine, going to that many cons, meeting that many people, I have ran into my fair share of weeaboos and cringe. And this is just one story off the top of my head, so please let me know if you want continued stories and updates on my journey. With the background established, let's introduce the players of this story. Sorry I'm jumping all over the place, but here you go. Me Illinois, refer to myself as May, cause of the username, K, my girlfriend and co-worker. Minor character in this, but still important, Chon, the main weeb of my nightmares. And so, we began. This happened about a year ago. I was fairly new to my job and everything it entails. I was 16 at the time, which is rather young for traveling for a job like this, but I took pride in that. At the time I cosplayed a lot, but I was super shy, so I just kind of helped photographers and K-pose instead of participating. At one point, I decided to wander off on my own. There's a vendor hall at every con, and I am a figure collector, so I like to see if I can find anything unique at cons. And at that time I happened to run into Chon. Chon is similar to your typical neckbeard, and yet somehow more weeb than your average Mountain Dew man. He was tall, albeit, M5, so everyone is tall, overweight, had an amazing white-rimmed fedora. He was wearing an Ahiga sweater and shorts. His leg hair was long enough to suffocate me if his BO didn't do the job first. Sadly, I was in one of my female and easily recognizable cosplays, so I attracted attention. I was Gasai, in case anyone was curious. I remember his first words to me clearly. "Hey. Oh, you're so beautiful, my yandere queen. Can you take a picture with me?" Yandere queen set off alarms, which I guess should have been set off by the outfit, but everyone is dressed weird at a con, so I couldn't really judge. And like a fool sticking her head into a guillotine for a joke, I awkwardly agreed. So he wrapped his sweaty arm around me, practically buried my face into the pits of hell underneath his arms, and took a picture with me. Great, whatever. But he asked me a question I dreaded. "Were you in the dating auction earlier tonight?" In case anyone didn't know, most cons take a volunteer and auction them out for fake dates. The money for this con went to charity, and I was trying to burst out of my shy bubble, so I agreed. This is still shocking to me a year later, but I actually sold for the highest price there. I was $200, when people usually go for around $50. And with this being my first auction, this was a huge deal for everyone involved. The auctioneers, me, the people bidding. There were two people fighting over me that auction, but the one who won me was a chef at one of my favorite restaurants, ironically. He was super chill. I just happened to be super underage and with my girlfriend, so that was a bit awkward. Apparently this man was the other person fighting over me. You know, the one willing to spend more than $100 to hang out with me? I thought the first dude was crazy, but I clearly didn't know crazy. Chon had no fear after I said yes. He said, "Yeah, you're like a real-life loli in a yandere package. You've got the cute look, you're 16, your boobs are just perfect, and I could almost see your panties from on stage." Now this verbal assault was more than surprising, and he still had his death grip on me. So I wiggles free and said something along the lines of, "Wow, that's really creepy." Because I'm just that witty. And I don't remember everything I said, his shit stuck out way more. He spoke again, "Well, I still have money, how about we go back to my hotel room? I mean, you're my waifu. I need you. I deserve you. I have a shrine, And then it hit me, he thought this dating auction was prostitution. And he wanted to sleep with me because I am barely legal. At this point I prayed for God to strike me down so I no longer could hear this cringe. That, and also I was pretty sure I was about to be assaulted in this busy vendor hall, and as someone with VCD, I'm essentially mute most of the time, so I can't scream for help. So I backed off further, and holy shit, I got lucky because my girlfriend called wanting to know where I was. I told him I had to go, and he shouted something about not being done and being entitled to a lolly as I ran away. I mostly remember the whole craziness of the conversation itself. So, yeah? TLDR, underage cosplay model dressed up as a yandere. Weeb assumes he can buy sex from me.
Neckbeard LUSH employee gives me a sensual arm massage. By ManFan9292. This story happened several years ago, but every time I went to write about it, I ragged in disgust. Until now. Be me, 21, walking down the main shopping street in my city, unemployed and broke as fuck. Take a break from handing out resumes to step into Lush Cosmetics and smell all the soaps for funsies. It's super busy in the shop, so I don't expect to be helped. 2 minutes into huffing soaps, a male voice behind me asks, "How are we doing today, m'lady?" Being at Lush, I expected the salesperson behind me to be a buff, conventionally attractive but socially conscious tattooed dude bro using m'lady ironically. This was back in 2014, when it was very in to make fun of neckbeardisms. I smiled, preparing a chivalrous comeback of my own, and turned around. Only instead of a tall tan muscular man helping me, there was Lushbeard. 6 tall, but flabby and pale with a patchy blonde neckbeard. Atop his looming head was a purple and blue trilby with a tiny feather in it. "Oh, not too bad," I managed to squeak out, trying to hold back my witty response and thinking, oh god, neckbeards are real. Just looking. I get a better look at Lushbeard, who is standing in my personal space just a teensy bit. He has the weirdest fat distribution ever. It's like 2 pillows are stuffed under the front and back of his shirt, with smaller pillows around his arms and his thighs, but his calves and lower back are non-existent. He went through the salesperson's spiel and asked me if I was looking for anything in particular. I asked him if they had any shower aromatherapy stuff, because I was actually looking for that, though I was too broke to buy anything. He says no, but he brings me to the bath bomb section and says I can use one in the shower as an aromatherapy thing. "Here, this one is my favorite," he says as he hands me a green bath bomb. "The lemongrass in it really helps me with my seasonal depression. Oh wow, I'm okay." Up until now Lushbeard had been on his best normie behavior. He actually was helpful and knew the products well. But as I sniff the bath bombs, I feel his eyes surveying my womanly curves. "There's something over here I think you'll like. Come," he beckons with a snap of his fingers, and goddamn I hate when people snap their fingers to get someone's attention, but I followed him through the bustling shop anyway. He brought me to the massage bar table. "Have you tried any of our body bars before?" he asks, and I'm not sure why he has brought me over here when I was interested in smelly things, not lotiony things, until Lushbeard picks up one of the testers and rubs it between his hands. "They're great to use with a partner," he went on, making eye contact with me as he says, "or by yourself." "Do you have a partner?" I did have a boyfriend at the time, but before I could answer and crush Lushbeard's hopes, he held out his greased hands. "May I?" God damn it, I knew this would get weird. I held out the back of my hand, hoping for a 2-fingered product demonstration touch, but Lushbeard grabs my forearm and begins aggressively massaging. I was a bad feminist and didn't tell him to stop touching me because I felt frozen. Not only was this unwanted massage happening in a store with 20+ people in it, but because my brain was screaming, oh god, neckbeards are just as bad as on the internet, abort. When Lushbeard's hands reached my elbow and started to venture up the sleeve of my shirt, I tried to retract my arm without causing a scene. Surely HW would be high-functioning enough to read this gesture as a sign to cease massaging? Nope. He grabbed my arm and made a TSTSTS sound like he was addressing a stubborn dog. He pulled my arm back to him, even closer this time, and whispered, "Relax." The massage continued for 45 more seconds as he tries to create a magical moment by making deep eye contact and murmuring sweet nothings about how tense I am before I nervously giggled. "Okay, I get how the bar works, ha ha ha." My girlish giggle, piercing laughter, finally attracted some glances from the oblivious shoppers. A frown crossed Lushbeard's face and he loosened his grip. "Sinks are that way, lem know if I need any help," he mumbled, and pointed to the sinks. I washed my hands, but the hottest water and smelliest soaps couldn't wash Lushbeard's filth off of my arm. I did not return to that store for a year afterwards, just to avoid running into him. It wasn't until my friend started working that location about a year later that I bravely returned to pay her a visit. I asked her if she worked with a guy wearing a fedora, but my friend didn't know who I was referring to, so I told about my encounter with Lushbeard for a laugh. Instead of laughing, my friend got all serious and went into the back to get her manager. The manager came out and apologized profusely because apparently Lushbeard tried very hard to sell the body bars on several women. He was terminated a few months into his employment.
The Neckbeard Wants My Baby by Nerdy-Mistress. Hello, I found this subreddit recently and relieved to know there were others who have had the bad luck of running into neckbeards. I know that sounds weird, but everyone I know personally has never shared this same luck. One day a friend messaged me. I'll call her J. The disgusting star of the story I will call C. J sent me a message along the lines of "I'm going on a group date, you should join me." I was skeptical, because J's choices in guys was awful. I knew one of her friends and I had a small crush on him at the time. She led me to believe he would be there. He wasn't, of course. I go to our meeting spot and wait for her and the others. Turns out she wanted to do a blind double date. Jay brought a fling, and for me. His neckbeard best friend C. C immediately waddled over to me and kissed my hand. I was beyond creeped out. He was the most neckbeardy guy I've come across. Smelled awful, incredibly obese, bad teeth, anime shirt that didn't fit, etc. etc. I thought I'd give him a chance. I didn't want to judge him based on looks and smell alone. I should have ran. He kept complimenting me, telling me I had nice curves and huge boobs, but that I wasn't his ideal type yet. Ew, I decided to ignore his strong oncomings and we continued walking around, all four of us. We eventually went to a dollar store for shits and giggles. He was out of breath and was slowly stalking behind me. Jay and her fling bugged off when C and I went into the store. I picked up a small white carriage, and C came up right behind me. I have extreme anxiety with people standing too close behind me. I could feel him press his belly into me, his hot disgusting breath on my neck and ear as he leaned in closer and said we will have beautiful babies one day. At this point I was shaking from fear, as I could feel him trying to touch me further, in a public setting. I walked away from him trying to not cause a scene. He followed behind me. At this point I knew I had to leave. I made some dumb excuse and left the double date early. Before I could he demanded a kiss. I dodged and ran home. I was done. He even called out to me that I need to date him or else. I later found out he was spreading rumors that I had sex with him on that first date and that we would have babies. I cringe to this day. I'm glad to be more aware of these creeps now. Thanks for reading. I needed to vent to people that would understand.
Sam tries to charity, or how a neckbeard got in the back door by Lady_Saber. Hello lords and miladies. It's Lady Saber, back with the 10th installment of Sam. This story takes place about a week after the previous two. As a note to new readers, this being the 10th installment of the story, re-explaining the background for all of the settings and such wouldn't be much fun for the regulars. Milady Bart is somewhere in the comments with all of the previous stories, so grab a bucket of cheese balls and start there. Let's get our jimmies ready. Player 1 is me, Lady Saber. Pretty social personality, but uncomfortable in large groups of people I don't know. I'm wearing a dark blue full-length dress, matching earrings, and nude heels. My hair is let down and curled gently, over one shoulder to cover the cut side of my face. Player 2 is John, my, finally, official boyfriend. He's looking sharp, wearing a white shirt under a matching light blue vest and tie, pressed pants and polished shoes. He's a much smoother dancer than I am. Has a bit of a temper and will inflate when provoked. It's pretty funny. Player 3 is Sir Samuel Smooth Cheeks, the chaste and chivalrous knight. Creepier than a millipede's legs, he has a high-pitched voice, and needs lotion to slip through doorways. I would describe his appearance, but am saving that little morsel for later. This story takes place, mostly, at our school's winter dance. It's not quite prom, but it's still a black tie affair. It's hosted on February the 14th, and raises money for a charity. This year, it's supporting a local women's shelter and support network in the city. There are a bunch of silly traditions everyone follows. The girls ask the guys to be their dates. There's a race between someone in a chicken suit and the school mascot afterwards. All this stuff is designed to drum up interest and get more people to buy tickets. The week before the 14th, Sam pays me a visit at Go Club. The whole scene reminds me of The Beginning to Lose Yourself, by Eminem.
If you had one shot, one opportunity, to seize everything you ever wanted to capture, just let it slip. He makes a big show of himself, making his proposal in front of everyone at Go Club. Hess wearing his usual beard gear with extra crust. He scratches his head, before extending the same hand for me to shake. Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, Terry's vomit on his sweater already, mom's spaghetti. Hess nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready. Okay, I don't think those weird stains are puke, but he still smells bad enough. The EX makes a cover about as good as this cover. He shifts his weight a few times and goes through a series of nervous ticks, before smoothing out his jimmies and asking Lady Saber, do you want to go with me to, like, the winter dance thingy-mabob? To drop bombs, but he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth but the words won't come out. I just, think it'd be a lot of fun, and I mean, like, all of my friends are going, so it'd be a big group and I think it'd be a lot of fun. There's a pause. I got you something. He produces a small bouquet of white chrysanthemums and roses from his backpack, crinkled and slightly wilted. I don't know why, but this memo always reminds me of Macaroni art. I think it's worth mentioning that in Belgium, those are flowers you bring to a funeral. I'm flushing bright red. It's dead quiet and everyone is looking at me, including Mr. Teacher, who is trying to hold back a cringe giggle. Sam, I'm going to go with John. Snap back to reality. OHP there goes gravity, OHP there goes rabbit. He choked. Hess so mad, but he won't give up that easy, nope. There's more shock on his face than a victim of the electric chair. How could I reject him? He did all the things right. Had a compelling speech, an irresistible gift, even proved his alphaness by totally ignoring the traditional rules of the dance. He quickly falls back to, well, I mean just as friends of course, haha. Much in the same way one might fall from a roof. I tell him, again, that I'm going with John. Well, has he asked you yet? Well, no. Haha, well, looks like you're pretty much single as a Pringle. HNNNNNNGGGGGG. No Sam, John is still my boyfriend, and I can't have two dates. He turns and slouches away, tossing the flowers into the trash can, with as much reluctance as throwing out a can of raviolis. He glances over his shoulder to make sure I'm watching the symbolic gesture. The rest of the club starts buzzing as Sam storms out. I don't actually ask John until a few days before, just to make him sweat a little. The dance is held off campus, at a large indoor venue. Nice high ceiling, great acoustics, hardwood floors. One wall is almost all windows, so from the outside you can see everyone having a good time, and from the inside you can see who's arriving. John and I buy our tickets at the door. You can pay $20, $30, or $50 for a ticket, so John drops $60 for both of us. It's a fun time. There's tons of snacks and almost everyone has showed up. Sam, however, is blessedly absent. I get to enjoy a fun night unimpeded by beardism. Haha. Right. About half an hour in, a limousine pulls up outside the building. It's cleverly disguised as Sam's minivan. Sam and 6 other members of the invasion force pile out one side, kicking and bumping each other through the sliding door. It's a mixed munchies bag, half-hour skinny and half-hour fat, all but one is wearing a hat. Tee. I grab John and we move to a place where we can see the lobby to watch the mummers troop enter through the front doors. A banana copy prevents them from going inside without tickets is nearly eaten. Apparently, they have no idea that this is a charity event, because there is a significant scuffle at the ticket table. John and I are transfixed, numbing a handful of grapes while the plaid-armored hedge knights argue about the tickets before angrily leaving. They pace on the sidewalk outside, peering in the window like well-fed les miserables orphans, before walking off in the other direction. I think I've dodged a firing squad until after the next line dance. I'm grabbing a drink, when Sam cha-chas real smooth up behind me, laying a warm, sweaty palm on my exposed shoulder. Hey, Lady Saber. Happy Valentine's Day. 7 save us. Hess wearing brown loafers, khakis, a plaid flannel shirt tucked in, under a dark suit jacket. A crooked, striped tie and pinstriped navy blue trilby top it all off. My eyes. I forgot the cane. Yes, a dark, straight cane is in his other hand, leaning away from his hip. Nimmer is 10,000 watts. I have to pull myself out of the euphoria to respond. You too. I thought I saw a group leave just now. Ha, yay, we went to the school first because we thought we were supposed to go there. Then they wanted to charge us some retarded amount of money to get in here. You know it's for a charity, right? Has surprised by that, but tries to hide it. Ha, yay, we knew, but still $20 is way too much. I'm about to ask how he managed to get in, when I noticed the semicircle of his compatriots forming up around him. I'm by myself, pinned between them and the snack table, a little worried about a stampede. From here, I'll just refer to Sam's friends by the color trilby they're wearing. Blue lifts his hat by the brim in greeting, revealing a sweaty crust of blonde hair underneath. So you're Lady Saber we've all heard so much about. Hey, yay, I guess. I laugh nervously. Each gentleisser introduces himself with a tip. White, blue, black, navy, gray, and hatless. They're all dressed in similar ridiculous Sam, though none can top his cane. Gray and navy are skinny, and the only one who looks like he googled men's formal wear is hatless. The circle presses in a little tighter as an unintelligible flood of compliments surge at me like a shaken-up bottle of dew. Wow, your dress looks good. You look good in that dress. Is your hair really blonde? Hey, it's cool how much you like games. You're so cute. You don't need all that makeup. Black tries to touch my hair. I'm quickly saved as John and company force an opening in the circle and pull me out as a spokesperson from the beneficiary takes the stage to give a speech. Everyone shuts up and turns to listen, except for the world's greatest feminist. Sam sidles up on my right side. John already occupies my left and has an arm around my waist. The speaker starts with his spiel, and Sam has a witty remark for every other line. We've managed to raise almost $100,000. Hey, yay, cause you fucking overcharge everyone. For an optional charity event. I've been working for this organization for years. Probably just cause your boss likes your tits. She runs the damn thing. And I just wanted to tell you all how grateful I am for this generosity. Cause we're, like, paying your fucking salary. They're all volunteers. After each hilarious one-liner, Sam turns to look at me, making sure I'm able to bask in the warm, moist glow of his good comedic taste. I make no reply, pretending to be intent on the speaker, but that doesn't stop Sam. M'lady clearly just didn't hear her champion's japes. He also fidgets and itches himself while edging closer, making it painfully clear that he wants to touch me, somehow. This continues for the entirety of the 5 to 10 minute talk. John is getting wound up, silently squeezing my waist like a cheese whiz packet. Sam blithely continues on with his humor, until the people around us start to shush him. Like any classy alpha male gentleman, he makes mocking faces, but eventually stops talking. Eventually, though, he chances one last remark to win Milady's hand. Sam leans in close and drops his voice low. It's pretty funny. All of us snuck in through a door and back. Are you serious? He grins smugly. Milady should clearly be impressed by his cunning. Yay, it wasn't even locked. People are such idiots. You cheated a charity out of more than $100. He doesn't see a problem with this at all. In fact, it's almost an accomplishment. Yay, so? We showed up and gave our support. They already have tons of money. By now, a roar of applause goes up and people start to make their exit. John and I make our escape like the last two egg noodles after the end of the speech, and lose ourselves in the crowd. It isn't until after the chicken race that Sam is able to locate us again. Hey, Lady Saber. Sorry I lost you guys earlier. Can you give me a ride home? John and I have separated, as I'm waiting for him to bring his truck back from the parking lot, so I'm pretty much single as a Pringle. I don't have a ride, my mom just dropped us off. Could you take me home? What about your friends? Oh, well, I guess they need a ride too. How many people can you fit? I don't know. Sam, it's not my car. There's a few awkward minutes of standing around before John returns. The rest of the Beetus brigade start to trickle in. John, finally, pulls up next to the sidewalk, and Sam makes like a rabbitkin to hop on in. Hess clambered halfway through the passenger door when John tries to stop him. Sam, what the hell are you doing? I need a ride, John. Dude, I don't have space for you and your herd. Well, how are supposed to get home, then? What would this evening be without a good vintage wine? Sam, that really ain't my problem. He backs out and stands on the road, giving his hat a tip and holding the already open door for me as I climb in the cab. I don't want to think about what Hess looking at as Hess standing behind me. Hey John, you think we could ride in the back? You mean the truck bed? Yay. There's plenty of room. I'm more worried about towing capacity than room. Sam, I don't even know where you guys live, and I can't spend all night driving and John and I exchange a look of why do we need to have this conversation. It's okay. We all live close by. White just lives over in Bumshartville. That's like a half hour away. Seriously, just call your mommy and get her to pick you guys up. Lady Saber and I have to go. Please. Can you just drop us all off at my house, then? My mom can't pick us up. We're all gonna be stuck here and, like, it's cold. John and Sam don't actually live that far apart, but more on that later. It might have been easy to just drive away, but John relents, and they climb into the truck bed. Sam still makes a bid to share the front seat with Lady, but the door is mysteriously locked. From the huffing and puffing, you'd think they just scaled the wall barehanded. Gray, who physically can't manage it, has to be hoisted up. After the whole crew is in, Sam slaps the back window twice, leaving behind a greasy palm print. Hatless was nowhere to be seen, but everyone forgot about that at the time. The ride home is comical. Hold on to your trilbies, folks. Part of this ride is on the freeway, and at 60 miles an hour, even the crustiest hair flaps in the breeze like soggy potato chips. Sam hoots and hollers, while a few members of his team look like they're about to be sick. Less than a mile from his house, Sam loses his hat. He looks like Hess about to cry, but he puts on a brave face. The original plan was to drop me off first, but I really don't want these guys knowing where I live, so the gentle sirs are dropped off before me. At Sam's house, sure enough, his minivan is parked happily in the driveway. Thanks, Mom. Edited for letters.
Just a girl is a cursed phrase by _typhoid_Mary. Casino Beard Saga Part 4. Welcome back to the story of Casino Beard, our fat antagonist who made my mediocre night job a living hell. I'm sure you all know the deal, so we'll just introduce our characters. Me, 18-year-old girl. I have some dorky tattoos, look like a punk, and am not afraid to speak my mind. Casino Beard, CB for short. 30-something, tall, fat greaseball of a human with no regard for boundaries. Can't believe a girl likes video games and also doesn't want him to touch her. Lamau what? Chad, 20-something tall as heck Chad looking dude. Is aware of CB's antics, and is becoming my work husband. Simba, another coworker. Has hella long hair and looks like a damn lion. Super sweet to me but a douche to anyone who isn't a girl or a bro. You know the type. Freckles, super tall, skinny guy. Has a Gears of War tattoo on his shoulder. Possibly the only friend of CB's. Very nice but doesn't understand how none of us like CB. Believe it or not, this story doesn't take place at work. It's how this scumbag decided to try and worm his way into my life and crash a date I had with Chad. It started with me getting home from work on a Thursday morning. Exhausted, sweaty, and drained from having to pull drunk girls out of the casino bathrooms. I opened up my front door and was greeted by my dogs. It's my favorite part of the morning. My younger dog reaches up for a hug and my older one follows me back to my bedroom to take a nap with me. And by nap, I mean like 6 hours of sleep. Once I was under the covers in my cave of darkness, snuggling with my lil guy, I did what everyone does in our technology-addicted society. I went on my phone. Just to check my social media, you know. Instagram would be the battlegrounds this morning. I go to my notifications. And what do I see? Casino Beard is following you. Damn it. It was his first name and then just numbers following it for his username. My heart sank. CasinoBeard likes your post. Oh god, what post? Wouldn't you know it, he liked something sacred and dear to my heart. A picture of my old man dog asleep in his chair. It felt dirty. That by him liking my post about my baby, he ruined something sacred. He knows about my son now. I know it's a bit anal and probably mean or bitchy to be like, wow, he liked my photo, what a creep, but we have already established that is a much older man who is basically preying on me and borderline sexually harassing me sometimes at work. And to know that he actively searched for my Instagram and found it and liked a post of my fucking angel made me sick. Nobody told him my handle. So he went snooping for who knows how long to find it. It's not linked to my Facebook, it's a fucking Finsta. I was just disgusted with the thought of him looking for me and then looking at my baby. I immediately blocked him and switched my account to private, and said a Hail Mary to try and cleanse my dog. Fast forward to that evening. I was up by about 2 p.m. and didn't have work until midnight. Nice. I had received a text from Chad at about 4-ish. Hey, wanna go to insert sports bar name here tonight with a couple of people before work tonight? Just dinner and maybe a drink, it read. I am too young to drink, but hey, I never get invited places. Hell yeah. Does this mean I have friends? So this is what it's like to be in a social group. NICE. I said hell yeah, obviously, and started getting ready. Now I'd be going back home before work to change into uniform and stuff, so I went all out. High heels, short black dress, my usual 90s grunge makeup look. And some dark red lipstick. Fuck it, right? Chad picked me up from my house and we met a few other co-workers there at about 7. It was Simba and Freckles. They already had a round of beers going. I quietly asked for a water from the waitress. The playoffs were on, the boys were hyped, I wasn't alone, I had some buffalo wings, life was good and wholesome and I was happy. Now I'm accepting bets for how long you think my happiness lasted. Spoiler, it was maybe 20 minutes. I felt a draft. The front door was opening and then slowly closed, leaving an icy blast of January wind to hit me in the back. I could feel my bar stool move with every pound of those footsteps. I knew deep in my heart who it was. I didn't want to believe. I was ready to give up and let the void take me. Swallow me whole. I looked over to the guys. Simba and Chad were looking at Freckles like he had just killed a puppy. Freckles had an awkward smile on his face. I thought it wouldn't be rude not to invite him, he mumbled. I didn't think he'd actually show up. I snapped my head around. There he was in all his slimy glory. I almost shit myself. He had it. He was wearing it. On his fucking head. On purpose. It was slightly too small for his manhole-sized head. Black with gray pinstripes. Oh no. This confirmed it. It was a fedora. I scoped him up and down. Was this bitch wearing dirty sweatpants to a fucking sports bar? Yup. He sure was. Gray sweatpants, some sandals that looked like they had seen better days, and a long-sleeve shirt that was slightly too short. And showed the bottom of his nasty, sparsely hairy stomach. God, I could have gagged and thrown up. Nice to see you fellas, he said, grinning his nasty fucking dirty teeth. Fucking hell, I was happy just moments ago. Holy hell. He turned to me and his lips curled into the biggest shit-eating grin. You look gorgeous this evening, as every lady. I just gotten latted. I've only ever heard about it in urban legends and comic book stores. I never once thought it'd be at the receiving end of lady. I wanted to go home and soak my body in battery acid to get the cringe off of me. But I don't think that would be strong enough to even scrape the surface of how uncomfortable I was. He got up on the bar stool directly across from me. Freckles and Chad were on either side of him. Chad and Simba were next to me. Simba was well aware of the situation and hated CB long before his antics with me. That's how it is with most of my coworkers. CB ordered a beer, Bud Light. Jesus Christ, we were in a bar, he could have had anything but he chose Bud Light. Okay. Chad scooted his seat closer to mine, and Simba leaned closer to me as well. It was more of the three of us against the two of them at this point. Freckles is nice and all but has too fucking nice. He knows how I felt about CB. Fuck you, Freckles. Only water for the lady? Don't be daft, we can handle seeing just a girl drink, am I right boys? He smiled, cringely. Oof, I was ready. Who the fuck talks like that, really? It's 2018, stop white knighting all over the place. God, being called just a girl by him is a reoccurring theme. And it triggers me. I totally would drink aside from the fact I turn 18 literally in September, I hissed. Sipping my water. I took out my phone to text Chad that we had to leave. Wow, I didn't know you're that young, CB said quietly. His face went blank. Only for a second. But then a smile creeped back onto his fucking acne-ridden face. Must not have a whole lot of experience then, do you? I almost burst into flames from pure anger. Fucking. He won't take a hint. When will you ever understand him never going to accept your creeping fucking advances towards me? I barked at him. It was loud. I wanted it to be loud. I wanted the people at the bar behind me to know CB was here and wasn't welcome. I wanted the staff to know that I was feeling harassed. It got a little silent. The waitress and I exchanged looked really fast. This was the kind of bar you can order angel shots at, the ones that basically tell the staff you are in trouble and they will call the police if you order an angel shot. She came over and asked me if I'd like a drink. I said not yet. In hindsight, while typing this, the bar staff did more to protect me from CB than my own management team did. Wow, that's super fucked. Okay, back to the story. What the fuck do you think you're doing? She's a literal teenager, Chad said to CB. The words obviously went in one ear and out the other and he didn't fully grasp the situation. Wow, I didn't realize you two were a thing, I guess, CB said with the most hardened look I'd ever seen. First of all, not a thing. Second, CB looked about ready to rip Chad's head off. Third, how did he get that into his head? I started to say we're not a T. Let's go, Chad interrupted me and jumped off his seat. I carefully stepped down from the bar stool, heels, when CB started scooting his seat back saying I'll help you down. I snapped. I was basically yelling. Never touch me. I was so pissed. I was getting flashes back to when he grabbed me on that first night. His grip was tight. It was then I made the connection. This man could hurt me. I quickly darted out of the bar and towards Chad's car. I could feel it. That hot wave of anger and frustration, and then tears. Was I afraid of him? At this point, it was safe to say yes. Chad promised me he'd bring it up with our supervisor, Mr. Rogers, but he can't do anything except make sure we don't work anywhere near each other. Which was already silently in play. It was a train wreck. I'm glad we left before he got a chance to say anything about Instagram. If he brought up my dog, I would have flipped. He is in no way invited to my social media platforms. But it gets brought up again, unfortunately. Thankfully, I didn't see him at all that night at work. But I was still a fucking mess. That's all for now, my friends. I'll bring part 5 in the next few days. And to clear some stuff up, the managers don't give a fuck about what CB does to me. The turnover rate was super high and CB had worked here for years and did overtime and doubles all the time, and they were critically understaffed. So the upper management guys didn't do shit about it. Especially because I was a night shift worker. They don't care what happens at night. And I ended up quitting maybe 6 to 7 weeks after, from this point, so from a business standpoint it was smarter for them to just ignore than that's to fire CB. I appreciate all the feedback and I'll get working on the next parts.
Was given a flower and called Milady by a Neckbeard in the arcade by PandeanPanic. This obviously happened before Corona and the pandemic hit, but this sub was down or something when I tried to tell the story. So, I went to the arcade in my town. It's really cool. They've got gaming tournaments, tabletop games, a whole room for vintage games, shooter games, just everything. I guess you could say the people I meet when I go there could be a little Neckbeard Y, but only in looks. They're actually really nice. Fast forward a few months ago when things weren't insane and they're all organizing their magic decks or something. I have yet to get into magic because I get confused about it and I don't want to ask someone to teach me, so I was just sipping a soda and watching when this guy comes into the shop. Never met him before. Definitely more Neckbeard Y, he had long greasy hair to match too and dressed pretty odd but no fedora. He was definitely older. He goes and chats with the guys, notices me, and I legit kid you not says hello m'lady, this flower doesn't compare to your beauty, and picks up this flower he had on the front register desk and hands it to me. No one knows where he got the flower. A bit later we're alone again and both of the guys I was with apologized about what happened and said that he was weird but didn't come into much and hope I still felt okay. I wasn't angry or scared or anything. I was just fucking baffled that I got a fucking flower and actually got called m'lady. If anyone wants proof, I do have a picture of the flowers.
Travelbeard by SweetHoneyApples. All I wanted was to sleep. I had a long night of traveling from country A to B, and it started at 10 p.m. My body never really got used to the time change in A, so by 9 p.m., I was already good to sleep. Needing to stay awake, I tried playing some Zelda on my DS. That's when Travelbeard showed up. One look at the pink 3DS in my hands and he scurried over to sit beside me as we waited for boarding. He didn't smell, thank goodness, but he sported the greasy hair, overweight body look. Is that Arcana of Time? Yup. That's the best one. He went on to impress me with his gaming skills by declaring he had all Zelda games and beat them too. He ranked them from his favorites to least. I was fully wooed and charmed, but couldn't jump up faster when my boarding group was finally called. I settled in my seat, only to have him pant up the aisle towards me. I knew at that moment my plans of sleeping were out the window. It was him, me and an older man. I fully ignored him, pretending I couldn't hear with my earbuds. I tried getting comfy to sleep but it wasn't happening, because he wouldn't stop talking. There's small chat, and then there's Travelbeard. He explained his life story. He was too good for hotels, he slept 2 hours a day and just couch crashed with people he'd meet. Looking at me, he said, "You probably don't know what a hostel is. Should I explain it?" I rolled my eyes and muttered for him to not talk to me. He explained it. He told stories of how he's been to many countries, and is very cultured, but I wouldn't understand since I've probably never been to places like Germany. My family is German. My favorite part is when he said it's his dream to go to Japan. He's fluent in Japanese. Do you know of the animated shows they have in Japan? They're wonderful for teaching. By then I was in a grump. We'd been in the air over 2 hours, the lights were dimmed, everyone else was trying to sleep, and he just kept talking. I lost my cool, and said, "I'm sure hentai taught you a lot. Now please shut it, we're trying to sleep." He said a few angry comments and threatened to call the flight attendant, but the old guy backed me up and said it was time we all tried to sleep. But he doesn't need sleep, remember? He pulled out a tablet and put some anime on while I tried to suffocate myself with a pillow. By the time we landed, I slept maybe half an hour. I head out to my next flight, glad he didn't have the same connecting flight.
A Warhammer Neckbeard, some female space marines, and an epic tantrum. By ML_Notley. Ladies and gents, since my friend the Warhammer tournament organizer is back in town, I've got another story. Sit down, pop your regimental standard popcorn, and prepare to cringe. This was not a tournament my friend played, but a game of Apocalypse, which is 40k turned up to 11. Whereas a normal 40k game has 2,000 points of models per side, 10,000 points per side is not uncommon in Apocalypse. Dramatis Personae. My friend. Our source of stories. Rick and Morty, 2 players who are known for their friendly rivalry and obnoxious banter at this store. They always play together if possible. Tom, a fairly quiet player, actually a nice guy. Doesn't have much of a role in this story, although he does have one of the smaller Titan units for the game. Kara, a rare sight, a lady player of 40k, and the subject of Neckbeard's wrath. Neckbeard, our antagonist. No fedora, but does have cargo pants, and a near triple chin and a gut to go with it. So, the store they are playing in has occasional games of Apocalypse. The 6 have joined up to play. Neckbeard, Rick and Morty are playing Imperium, bad guys. My friend, Tom, and Kira are playing Chaos, worse guys. My friend has a pretty strong World Eaters list, red armor, loves to rip and tear, lots of infantry backed by a Corn Lord of Skulls. This model is nuts, Google it. Tom plays a balanced Black Legion force. Kira plays Iron Warriors, which have a ton of wicked-looking demon engines. But here's the kicker. She bought third-party miniature parts to make some of her Chaos Space Marines women. And these are well painted. She gave them the Chaos Stars facial tattoos, and their skin is pale and sinister looking. Rick and Morty have brought Blood Angels, red armor, and Ultramarines, blue armor, respectively. Neckbeard brings dark angels, green armor, and since it's apocalypse, Hess brought a half-painted, Thunderhawk gunship from Forge World, the part of Games Workshop that makes obscenely expensive resin models. He invites people to be in awe of it. While it's an impressive model, one really can't be in awe of a half-painted model. After making fun for Morty for playing Ultramarines, he sees Kira's female Iron Warriors. With a chortle he says, "Sweetie, what are those doing on the table?" Kira, "What?" Neckbeard, "Those Space Marines. Females cannot be Space Marines, even Chaos." An excellent attempt to use heresy to cover up that deviance, but nonetheless. Kira has been used to playing against man-babies. She even makes a game out of it sometimes. "They're my models, I'll paint them how I want." Neckbeard, "Well, obviously, you know nothing of the lore, beyond what your boyfriend," gestures to Tom, "told you." Tom, "I'm not her boyfriend, dude, chill out." Kira, "If you're a 40k lore master, tell me about some obscure piece of lore about the Dark Angels." The Neckbeard doesn't know, and Rick and Morty start laughing. Neckbeard just glares at Kira. How dare a female correct me? Was probably going through his head. My friend and Kira both know Neckbeard is going to go all out trying to destroy her force at the expense of all else, so they start to whisper plans to exploit this. The game begins. Because following traditional rules for 40k, one side does all their stuff, then the other goes, can lead to some obnoxious alpha strikes. The group does alternating player order, Chaos Player 1, Imperium Player 1, Chaos Player 2, etc. Already it's a bloody game, stuff is getting blown up left and right. Kira is Chaos Player 3, and she sends her Lady Marines up towards the middle of the board to grab 2 objective markers, and damages some of Rick's Bale Predator tanks. These female Space Marines are conveniently positioned close to Neckbeard's glorious Forge World Thunderhawk. Now it's Neckbeard's turn. Has been talking loudly about how awesome his Thunderhawk is, and complaining about how GW dramatically increased the points cost of the Thunderhawk. A lot of stuff from Forge World got more expensive, thankfully just points wise, due to the powerful rules. After moving the massive model and the rest of his army, casting psychic powers, spells, it's time for the shooting phase. Neckbeard, all guns from the Thunderhawk are going to rape those female Space Marines. Rick, what? Why? Target her tanks. Neckbeard, no, it is obvious she's been on Tumblr too much and thinks this is acceptable. All guns fire into the bitch Marines. Kara, dude, just stop. Neckbeard grabs a big handful and dice, picking out certain colors for certain guns, and rolls a complete and utter whiff. He rolls mostly 1s and 2s, with a few 3s and 4s. Morty and my friend start howling with laughter. Neckbeard gets a little pink in the face, muttering, "Well, that's some shit luck." In 40k, targeting works like this: roll to hit, roll to wound, compare how tough the weapon compared to the target's toughness, then target makes a saving throw. So Neckbeard only gets a few wound rolls. Only 2 wounds get through, and Kira's Marines make their saving throws. Neckbeard is visibly angry now. They increased the fucking points, but didn't make it more powerful. It's so fucking unfair. This thing takes so much more of my points now. Neckbeard uses the rest of his units to target Kira's Lady Marines, and only kills a few of them, since they are in cover. Start of round 2. More bloodshed is had. Models are getting killed left and right. My friend's Lord of Skulls is tearing shit up and making Korn proud. All of the Chaos players are shooting the Thunderhawk when possible, severely damaging it, and trying not to laugh at Neckbeard's whining when he fails his saving throws. Kira's turn comes up again. More of her Lady Marines go and fortify her position. Her remaining demon engines are really putting in work this game. Since her Lady Marines can't really shoot at anything else, they target the Thunderhawk but fail to damage it. Cue more sexist chortling from Neckbeard. It's finally Neckbeard's turn. After loudly blowing his nose in front of everyone, he says it's time for another round of rape for these chaos cunts. All gunship guns fire into the bitch Marines. Rick and Morty, dude, fucking stop. Shoot something else. We're losing as it is right now. Kira just rolls her eyes. Neckbeard, hey, I'm just doing some penetration as their precious Slinch commands. Slinch is the chaos god of sex. Neckbeard really wants to feel validated by pretending to blow up 28mm scale models. He assembles his dice pool and rolls again. It's not as bad as the first roll, but a lot of ones and twos are showing again. Are you fucking kidding me? Is probably heard from 2 blocks away. Neckbeard goes full rant mode, screeching about why these dice have to be so bad. Why did Kira have to have her models there? Why did they have to be females? Why did she make him roll bad? Yada yada. The rest of his turn goes a little better. Not surprisingly, all of his guns target Kira's models. Round 3. Tom is going first with his Black Legion. Tom is really getting tired of Neckbeard's antics, so he has his Warhound Titan target the Thunderhawk. He rolls well, and does enough damage to destroy the Thunderhawk. Only Neckbeard doesn't remove the model. Tom, dude, the gunship's shot down. Remove the model. Neckbeard, it's not dead. Tom, yeah it is man, I did enough wounds. Neckbeard, I am going to kill more models with this gunship. It's not dead. Tom, okay it's not dead then. Neckbeard removes some of the wound tokens and keeps the model on. Rick, like the others, wants to get the game done ASAP. He blasts through his turn. My friend has had enough. On his turn, he steals 2 Imperium objectives, and then directs his Lord of Skulls to destroy the gunship. Your gunship's toast, dude. Take it off the table, or I'm letting the manager know about you. Neckbeard, this is such bullshit. Fucking GW raises the points cost of my gunship, I can't kill shit, and losing that cripples me. It's not fucking fair. My friend, dude, you knew about the rules changes, and you chose to bring it anyway. Quit bitching and let's finish the game. Neckbeard gets really pissed, and is now ranting and waving his arms about how everyone is conspiring against them, how GW is screwing Forge World buyers over, how the Chaos team brought a female to distract me, and so on, and in that moment, his elbow slams into his Thunderhawk and knocks it off the table. My friend said it was practically slow motion as this giant resin model was knocked off its stand, and tumbled over until it landed horizontal on its top side, and shattered. Neckbeard is frozen for a second, then lets out a scream of net and bolts to the floor, fumbling with pieces, and dropping them in his panicked frenzy, breaking them further. My friend, dude. Neckbeard just stares at his shattered $600 model for a moment. He looks up at Kira and his face scrunched up with rage. He started screeching that this was all Kira's fault, that she was distracting, she had every player gang up on him, that women should be banned from 40k, blah blah blah. Rick, fuck this, guys. We concede. Chaos victory. Everyone starts to pack up, as Neckbeard kicks a broken gunship part against the wall, breaking it further. After that, he quickly scoops up his Dark Angels into his pack and runs out of the store, starting to sob. My friend rarely plays at this particular store but keeps in touch with the people play there, and they say this guy hasn't been back since.
My sister, possibly a future Legbeard by retired Jesus0987. Hello, all. I've come here today to introduce my lovely sister, who I've recently labeled a future Legbeard. I don't want to officially label her as a Legbeard, since she's only 14 right now and may, hopefully, please God, grow out of this cringy phase. However, she is, as of right now, a perfect Legbeardy storm of pure cringe, and shows the all the signs. I know. She's still in the age where she's going to be cringy. We all were at least a little cringy in middle school. I shudder at the thought of my 8th grade year, but this goes way beyond anything normal. As far as her appearance goes, she's shorter than average and still pretty skinny, although she's recently started eating nothing but Doritos and hot dogs and it's showing, so that won't last long. She wears her hair long, and never wants to wash or brush it, so it's a greasy rat's nest. She only wears black graphic t-shirts, mostly Naruto or Minecraft related, jeans that are too short for her, and beat-up hand-me-down combat boots that I used to wear back in my emo phase, like 5 years ago, topped off with a Walmart fedora and ninja star necklace. Her interests are equally as cringy. She says she's really into anime, despite only watching Naruto and Pokémon. She's the type of person to go out wearing cat ears and calling her friends senpai. She also is really into Fortnite right now, which she spends about 8 hours a day playing on weekends. I should also mention she's an emo and an amazing artist. She claims that she doesn't even need to graduate high school because it's not important since she's going to be a professional artist. It's not good, guys. I have some pictures from her sketchbooks if anyone actually reads this and wants to see them. Her personality is by far the worst thing about her. It can basically be summed up as entitled bitch with a superiority complex. She's failing out of middle school at this point, simply because she refuses to do work she considers beneath her. She's the type of person who expects everything to be handed to her, and blames everyone around her if things don't go her way. She has tantrums on a regular basis, usually that result in violence and a destroyed room. She's also the type of person that thinks everyone else around her is intellectually beneath her, and by using fancy outdated language and no slang, she's automatically smarter than the rest of us Neanderthals. I have plenty of stories I could tell about her. If anyone wants to hear about the pain of living with a 14-year-old legbeard, I can post more about her.
I beg your fucking pardon? By _typhoid_Mary. Casino, Beard Saga Part 5, here we go again my friends. Part 5 of my trials and tribulations with Mr. Casino Beard. Slimy ass bitch. Whatever, I'll try and make this one short. This is the night after the sports bar incident. Doing my best to tell these all in order. Our characters are: me, 18-year-old girl. First time working a proper night shift. I have some dorky tattoos, look like a punk, and am not afraid to speak my mind. Casino, Beard, CB for short. 30-something, tall, fat greaseball of a human with no regard for boundaries. Can't believe a girl likes video games and also doesn't want him to touch her. Lamau what? Chad, 20-something tall as heck Chad-looking dude. Is aware of CB's antics, and is slowly becoming my work husband. Mr. Rogers, my shift supervisor. A 50-something jaded as fuck war veteran with a soft spot for me, not in a creepy way. Again sweet as all heck, and very Mr. Rogers type. He will be my savior in many CB attacks. Alrighty. I'll set the mood. It's a Friday night/Saturday morning. It's 3 a.m. I'm finally used to my night schedule, so I'm not drop dead tired. It's my break. Chad is breaking that night, telling people when they can take their breaks, and hooks me and Mr. Rogers up with second break. That's when the food is the best because they push all the old food from the last shift to the first break people. Thanks Chad. Now, Mr. Rogers is my supervisor for the nights. And is also CB's supervisor. So he has been making sure we are always on separate sides of the casino or that our schedules never line up, so if I do see CB, I can report him for not being at his positions. Unfortunately, the two differing parts of the casino have different radio lines. So we don't know who takes breaks when from other sides of the casino. But we all have the same break room. And wouldn't you know who has the same break as me? I saw his massive body squeeze through the smaller frame doors that lead into the room. Like, he straight up had to walk sideways to get in. Shit. I was just trying to eat my mozzarella sticks and enjoy my coffee. He sees me and smiles. Fucking. That smile still haunts me to this day. Mr. Rogers was sitting across from me and obviously saw the panic in my eyes. He turned around and then turned back, his normally sweet face was soured. Like someone shoved a whole ass lemon in his mouth and make him chew it. CB quickly made his way to the cafeteria, no surprise there. Mr. Rogers and I were at one of the smaller tables with 2 chairs. So it's not like he could have sat next to me. I lost my appetite. So I let Mr. Rogers pick at my food too. Unfortunately, there was an empty table about 4 feet away from us. Guess who comes hobbling over with probably half a fucking sausage pizza on his tray? Mr. Rogers helped me finish my food, with CB creepily staring at me while eating his pizza. He'd fold each slice in half and basically take 2 bites before the slice was gone. I could hear him eating and every single massive swallow he made. You could basically hear it plop into his oversized stomach. The size meant there was an echo. My eyes started watering from pure disgust. It was like watching those videos of people who are obese but pick through trash cans. Just a weird mix of disgust and pity. But the feeling of pity didn't last long. Mr. Rogers looked me in the eye, then eyed the bathroom. Shit. Okay, fuck it. When you gotta go. He slowly stood up and took the napkin out of his lap and sat it on the seat of the chair. I guess this was supposed to symbol he'd be back and the seat was occupied. He threw a dirty look at CB before walking quickly to the bathroom. That's awfully benevolent of you, sharing your food with that decrepit old man. Who the fuck uses words like benevolent and decrepit in everyday conversation? I bet if I wanted to reconnect with CB I could just go on r/IEmbarrassmart and find him. Damn it. Nice to know he respects Mr. Rogers enough not to call him decrepit right to his face. Not like he was in combat fighting for our freedom just so his bitch ass could get fat and jerk off to animate titties all day. Piss off, I mumbled, pulling out my phone. It's great to see the fair maiden being nice to everyone else and then blocking me, he said, with his stupid fucking smile and what I assume was supposed to be a condescending voice. But it just sounded like he was angry and trying not to cry for some reason. Pathetic. Yeah, it's crazy how I'm nice to people who are nice to me. Could he really not take the hint? To think I was really enjoying your photos, but I guess you're too hung up over everyone else's dick to bother with me. What? What did he say? I'm sorry? I chirped. I meant it as more of an I beg your fucking pardon, but this dense motherfucker took it as an apology. If you were you'd unblock me and hop off Chad's dick. He does this to every girl that works here. Okay, how can he really be that dense to think I'm actually sorry? And what would I be sorry for? Okay, I don't know what's going on in your thick skull, but Chad and I aren't a thing. And Hess not doing anything, Hess being fucking polite and helpful. Oof oof oh oh f, my blood pressure is raising, someone give me some aspirin before I have a stroke. You know he fucked the last girl that worked here, but I don't see you as an object like him. CB said, starting to scoot his chair over to me. Just a little bit. Really, is he that fucking hung up over this? Even if Chad had slept with the last girl who worked here, it doesn't matter to me, as I am not attracted to Chad. And he had the nerve to say he doesn't treat me like an object. Boy, the heck. Clearly you do think of me as an object if you think I'm too stupid to read Chad and make my own decisions, I said through my teeth. For fuck's sake, I was clenching my jaw so hard I thought my teeth would chatter. Lady, you don't know these people like I do. For fuck's sake, if this guy miladies me one more time. Everyone has the general consensus you're a scum, and these people haven't given me a reason not to trust them. But you have put your grubby hands on me and made blatant sexual remarks, and I'm not gonna fucking stand for that shit, I hissed. It was all true. I would have said this shit sooner, but I didn't want him to keep coming back to try and change my mind that he isn't pure shit. I had a similar situation in high school where I called a dude out for being a perv and he just spent the rest of the year trying to convince me he wasn't. But I guess history repeats itself when I can't hold my fucking tongue. Mr. Rogers, are you done shitting yet? Wow, I was just looking at your tattoos. Learn to take a compliment, you conceited bitch, he said, his face looked genuinely surprised. Like it was a secret I felt that way about him. Okay, cool. If I'm such a conceited bitch, why are you wasting my time by bothering me? It's true. Seriously, if I'm such a bitch, why are you talking to me, you dumb fuck? You've been brainwashed by everyone else, y'all come around, he whispered. He took his try of now a puddle of grease and got up. What the fuck was that supposed to mean? Y'all come around. That's super fucking threatening. Again, if I'm such a bitch, why bother? At this point I was borderline ready to panic. Mr. Rogers was still in the bathroom. I had 15 minutes left of my break. I just put my headset back on and went out to my post. I was done. I couldn't be in there. Holy shit. Now, from this point on in the story it's way more intense. Basically the rest of the saga is CB getting progressively more creepy and then me quitting. So, I guess this is a trigger warning for every part from here on out. I don't believe in trigger warnings, but I don't want to upset anyone who genuinely came here to read a silly neckbeard story. So I'll include those at the top. Thanks for reading. I'm surprised this many of you enjoy it. I appreciate every comment and every PM and try to respond to all of them. Part 6 will come in a few days. Smile.
How having a neckbeard ex put me off sex for years by Marchesa. So I was just an insecure 16-year-old and he was a 19-year-old college student. I thought he was a man of the world, that's how he always portrayed himself. Let's call him Frank. Frank was 62, pretty overweight and he wore an actual fedora. To his credit, he actually shaved the hairs off his neck but he wore a goatee which looked, in retrospect, pretty ridiculous because of how thin his hairs were. He was big into atheism. Hated organized religion. He would always quote things like religion is the opium of the masses and other Marx quotes. He loved that shit. I was kinda spiritual at the time and he would gently mock my beliefs at times. I was too intimidated by his age and his big words and long sentences to go against him very strongly. But it made me uncomfortable. At the same time, he would also praise me, compliment me on my appearance. And always ask me how my day was going on chat. He gave me a lot of attention, showered me with it, which killed some of my initial repulsion. Eventually he grew closer to me. I didn't want to date anyone at the time. I made it abundantly clear. But Frank was a very persistent guy, like he would not let go. Take no for an answer. We met on a chat app and talked a bit. He became a friend. A confidant. But he wanted more. Why don't you want to have a relationship with me, sex, all that good stuff? I am not comfortable with it, because I have body issues, I feel unattractive, I just do not want it. I am sure I can make you feel differently. I am sure I can change your mind. You just haven't met the right guy yet, that's why. I'm not even sure if I really like guys, I'm kinda bi and I'm still figuring out what my sexuality even is, why don't you just let me be? I need time. You're just unsure because you haven't tried things. Give me a try. Take a chance on me. You may be uncertain now but I promise you I will make you feel at ease. I will make you feel good. This went on, back and forth for a long time. He would just push, insist, whine and complain. He never knew how to take no for an answer. And honestly I was just weak. You know I was, and am, terribly insecure. Especially in those days. Part of me really needed the affirmation, the confirmation, the validation. And he seemed to worship the ground I walked on. He called me his goddess. Goddess, please. Goddess, this, goddess that. It was weird and funny and pretty messed up, but somehow I guess it got to me. One night I was in tears. I was heavily bullied for being a foreigner and I felt so alone, so sad. I was sleeping over at a friend's house, or I was supposed to, but things went wrong. I had to leave. I had a panic attack and I didn't know where to go. I was so lost. I couldn't possibly go home. So I called him. I felt safe with him, for all his pushy and bad attitudes, because at least he was someone who seemed to try. Someone who liked me. For who I was. I called him up in tears, barely able to form coherent sentences. He told me to be calm and keep breathing. He would pick me up in his car. So he did, and brought me from the sidewalk I was on to his apartment. Once there he hugged me. You look like you need a hug, he said as we cuddled a bit. I was calmer now. He poured us wine. I never drank much yet. But he insisted, he said it was good for me. So I drink. And drink. He keeps pouring, and talking, and pouring. After a while, a couple of glasses down, midway down the second bottle he starts kissing me. He's a pretty bad kisser. But I go on with it, because at least someone wants me. He touches my body. I push his hand away but he continues anyway. Please, no, I am not ready. If you keep this up you never will be. Just let me do my thing. Please. I don't want to show my body. So he continues. On and on. My shirt goes off. My bra. This is my most dreaded moment. For all my life I have been so insecure about my breasts. He just stares. I watch his face. His expression. Suddenly it's as if he's turned off. I cover my breasts with my hands to avoid his gaze. What's wrong? F, your nipples, what's wrong with them? What do you mean? F, they're so big. WTF? I put my clothes back on quick as hell. Got the fuck out of his apartment, even in my drunk state. I blocked him everywhere. Never wanted to see him again, and never did. But he really fucked my self-esteem up, big time.